Hello, hello. On a good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever on a day in the world. So we are coming late to now. 2 hours past with normal hour where we can come. That's because we delay the broadcast or the broadcasting because we be the wait for let the African Cup of Nations final finish. Because we know say a lot of people are going to watch them. And we know say a lot of people in the watch we on show too. So number one, we were trying to be fair to give them chances. Wish we had announced that earlier last week at where will be the close, but that's the reason why we're starting late. So we start 2 hours late. Also, uh, Professor Kutubu no go day, and as usual, Miss Fadima also no go day because she traveled. So come back yet. Professor Kutubu get some conflicting uh, obligations, so able for or not going to participate anymore on this particular show because I think it get a new show on VOS where when I will see him from time to time. We're glad to forget Mr. Tarawali, one of the CEO for VOS and the uh, co-owner of VOS as well. So it is today for help me with the task of broadcasting today, and we hope that and he always comes on VOS on Fridays. So when I'm very familiar with him, he needs no introduction. So that said, when I thank you for calling Sunday, February the 6th, today being what it is, and so we get a few topics that we go like for discussion tonight. But let me pause here and just allow Mr. Tarawali for do in your brief introduction.
Thank you very much, Mr. Shilon. I just want to tell family and say good evening, wherever you there, good morning, good afternoon. So now they watch me from. I join Mr. Shilon today because we know say we get plenty important discussion them we need for discuss and talk about as a country. So I join them tonight for we will get this kind of discussion. As always, we know say the viewers them will get a mutual respect and how they respect yourself. And at the same time, we want to discuss things them where we know say pertinent to Salone development. We're not there for we don't need for this, we don't need for agree, but we need for we both sides of any arguments. You see me on side, I see you on side, they will find it a middle ground about how we go come together for make a useful discussion for move Salone forward. Because that's the main objective of following the come here every single day. Not to say we know past everybody. We just take the time off. We own busy schedule and say, okay, Lord, we give your own contribution to the country and allow we brother and sister, Lord, we get a platform wherein we will discuss something but we country, no matter how the situation be. We talk and see how much we will move the country forward. Because the goal is that Usai Salone yesterday, Wale Usai Salone tomorrow, yesterday. That's the main thing. So I will hand back over to the host, and I believe say we will get a very good show, and we all go learn from each other tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Tarawali. And thank you, everybody, for listening. So we'll get a few topics today we want to discuss, all about social issues in Sierra Leone and the current trend of social issues or activities in Sierra Leone. The main topic will be that of LSC, as the gentleman is widely known, the saga. We create so many topics and subtopics we need for discuss about the judicial system, the effectiveness and the efficiency of the judicial system and the administration of justice in Sierra Leone, which the LSC case tend to reflect. Also, how that impact public opinion and the type of quality or the type of representation Mr. LSC gets and some of the flaws in the investigatory process of crimes in our country, and the misplacement of priorities of crimes in our country. So I think there's a lot to get for discuss. People are free to call. It's going to be a 1.5 hour show, so it's not going to be as long as usual. But we're not going to restrict you. If you call in, we're not going to give you less time for talk. We'll give you the standard 1 hour, 3 minutes, 15 seconds. We'll give you. We just want to make you point at the beginning of your call. Now wait till the 3 minute run out. We're about to run out before you make your main point. So we'll remind you from time to time, but the 3 minute, 15 second time for express, for object, to say anything about any issues is still in place. Also, like Mr. Tarawali say, this exchange of ideas. Tell me what you want to feel about how things to go, what you want to feel about what should be done on some of the issues. Then after the LSC issue, we go talk about some other issues that are not any less important, but we just decide to prioritize the LSC issue because now the issue where almost everybody they talk about. Okay, now let me remind the listeners and the callers that we get certain numbers for call. We get a toll-free number when a 1-866-944-7722. Again, 1-866-944-7722. We also get the UK number when a +42-203-239-9581. +44-203-239-9581. We also have an Australian number, +61-280-064-352. +61-280-064-352. And last but not least, the WhatsApp number, when a 1-343-997-5828. 1-343-997-5828. So that said, I would like for switch back to Mr. Tawali for see if like giving your opinion as guest, you get for treat the person, even though he's co-owner, but he's a guest, so would get for treat him with the utmost courtesy. So, Mr. Tawali, tell we, with respect to the LSC case, what you think say the most important issues concerning that situation, the way you want for level discourse or where you want to put forward?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, before we go forward, I just want to say congratulations to the Senegal team on winning an African Nations Cup because now we all know the West. I believe that the first thing is a West African team don't win unless somebody could prove me, maybe somebody could correct me if I'm wrong. But I believe this is a huge team for the region, most especially where most of the young teams they may do well and then try for show face the champion. I mean the competition. So we hope say going forward, this will give a momentum to all of we country them as well as we sub-region and follow we fight more in the future because we know say North Africa most of the time and can win them. So today the Western take them. So congratulations to the Senegal team. Now coming to the question we asked me, I think say while we look at this case, we try to look at the situation in Salone in contrast to the United States because we know say plenty things anyway different. I would try to be fair to the judge, the officers, them, and also the court and the forensic because we know say we not get enough forensic capability when they investigate some kind of case in a Salone. So I get for try to look at the line and the way they go and try to see who's will get the benefit of the doubt, but also see who's we know see the flaws and they in form of investigation wherein we as Sierra Leonean need for get a dialogue and see how we go change some of them things here. Okay, okay. Then just tell me, this is the first time Senegal won winner, but not to West African country. So Thank you very much. Because I know say them go correct me. So thank you, and people are not correct me also not in ticket, and also the police are not correct me. There's like first time Senegal winner, but not West Africa. So thank you very much for that correction, and again I apologize. So Mr. Sheila, me your first
Yeah.
question I would have for put to you as a lawyer. Say, let me look at some of the things that we not, even though we not get the entirety we happen behind the LSC business, but as a defense lawyer, you feel say if now you mean a terror case day, LSC me for go jail, you mean for serve any
Well,
time in prison.
well, thank you very much for the question. Except that it's hard for me to speculate, say, because even the best lawyer can lose a case for a variety of reasons. Sometimes it's just you just get a bad day, bad jury, or bad instruction from the judge to the jury. So there are a lot of uh, activities that could impact the jury negatively that may lead to the conviction of someone. So, in answer to your question, I will not answer that yes or no, but I can tell you what, uh, based upon what you will know so far, with a clearly objective, progressive, effective judicial system, it's highly unlikely that he will have been convicted by the jury, based upon what you will know so far. And we closely invite, and we also now get the transcript or the trial transcript. That's another issue I'd like to talk about later on. So without the availability of the trial transcript and without the opportunity to have watched the trial and without the opportunity to have gotten the story from someone who actually attended the trial from the beginning to end, all I can do is to make an educated professional guess based upon what I've learned so far. As we know, based upon the counter narrative by LSC himself, in the beginning, a lot of us, for people like me, thought this guy just go jail recently. And let me make the record reflect that he had been in prison since the Anescoroma government, not to under the BO governments. And I want to make that clear because everything is looked at from the political or political party lens, not in an objective sense. So we're not trying to blame anybody, but we just try to give facts. So this man went to prison when the APC was in power. That's when he was tried, and that's when he was convicted. But based upon what you will know, in brief, this gentleman allowed someone for all a birthday party in his house. And that someone, they invited some other people, then we come. And he gave them some conditions. One condition was which that people that will go swimming at the pool, they are letting them come in and step on some kind of expensive rug we get. He give them place with them for go and with them for see, undress themselves when they come out of the pool or change clothes, you know. So that said, the long and short of the story is someone who had attended that party day eventually was found dead 1 or 2 days later, not at the house, but at a cemetery. So there are a lot of questions there. Even when I don't hear a bit of the narrative of the police, there are still a lot of questions to be answered. Question number one, this man say he gets CCTV cameras, then closed circuit television cameras, then with the monitor in the entire house, inside and outside, and it's surrounded. So normally when you get CCTV camera like that, they also detect activities around the neighborhood or the neighbors them close to you. So with all that many CCTV cameras, I think there were 10, I recall. And then he also had guards, some of whom were doing what we will call moonlighting or part-time work, people who worked for the government, police officers. So now it seems like the camera should have taken or somewhere, if it was activated, and sometimes then CCTV camera here then can be activated by motion.
Yes.
So I don't know what type he had, but it will not do any good if you're not to motion CCTV. Then it will be useless because if you always have to go turn it on. But now the investigation, as we understand, took place by the police. They did the best they could. They came, they searched the place. Very little is said to us as to the surrounding of the area where the deceased was found. The all focus was on the residence where the party had taken place. We also understand that Mr. DJ Cliff, when I be the deceased, go to the party at the invitation of the young woman who asked LSC permission for make the party na yours. And we also understand that Mr. LSC was not there, was not present, did not attend the party. Now, I stand corrected.
That's what he said, but pictures end up showing that he was at the party. And the lady also said he was at the party. He took pictures and left after a while, but he was at the party at the beginning. So we just
he was at the party at the beginning. Okay, thanks for the correction. He was there, but by the time things started swinging, he had left. Okay, so now what happened at the end of the day or at the end of the party? Someone ended up being dead. Someone who came to the party never went back home. We also understand that this lady will rent the place. No way. Let's see, give the place permission for all this party. Not to invite the person we lost in life, as somebody else. That person.
No, not invite LSC. According to the lady, it talks say he and LSC meet up he and DJ Clef meet up somewhere, which they know themselves. So DJ Clef can understand say he gets party, but now some other people can DJ, but now in friend. So they tell them say we're not going to invite me to a party. Now they invite them, we then come with another guy, come with a couple of guys, them, we then come at the party with them. So he know the guys them as well. Just for clarify.
Okay, he knew them, but now I just try for. Let me get one thing straight. He know the guy then, but would I invite DJ Cliff?
Not the lady.
Okay. So now the DJ Cliff come at the behest of the lady.
Yes, sir.
Or as an invitee of the lady.
Yeah.
For all we know, there is also indication that DJ Cliff was drunk or became tipsy at the early part of the party.
That's what she said.
And then he was in the pool for a long time and was swimming and all of that.
Yes.
So we don't know, number one, this is just speculation. Even a sober person could drown in the pool. Could he have drowned in the pool and people panic and decided to get rid of his body? We don't know. But if I were a defense attorney, based upon the question you ask, I will have brought up that possibility, because a defense attorney has to take every action of the people in WDD very seriously and examine them closely, because the primary obligation to the defense attorney now for defend your client to the best of your ability. Now your primary obligation, Andy. Whereas the obligation of the government or the prosecutor now for prosecute within the bounds of the law. And people need to understand, it's not always when the government loses, because the prosecutor always represents the government. So the defendant will always be the state versus whoever is charged with the crime. Because every time you commit a crime, it's against the state. So they will always say state versus John Doe, whoever the person's name is. But the prosecutor and the defense attorney get two distinct functions.
Okay.
One, the prosecutor in responsibility now for make sure justice is served both ways, that the defendant get justice, which means he should be prosecuted fairly and within the bounds of the law. And that in goal not for necessarily mean for win or lose, but for put in best evidence forward and argue the case and try to get a conviction. But you don't need to forget a conviction at all costs, even if the evidence is lacking. And ordinarily, a defense attorney also is under some guidelines, and that is when you are charged with a crime, every crime gets what we call elements. Certain elements where the prosecution for proof. Say, for example, if you charge with larceny, if the statute defines larceny as the taking and carrying away of the property of another with the intent, without the person's consent, with the intent to deceive or deprive the person of the use of it. So now, the taking, first of all, the elements will be taken. That's again an example of what the elements of a crime are. Let me use larceny for example. If the elements
just
would get
clarify because I'm not going to start now. English word and the terms.
Would it get problem with the mic?
The difference.
Oh, control room, can you people help us? I'm so sorry, Mr. I let the audience they know say me and Mr. Tarawali are not in the same place or space. We are hundreds of miles away from each other. I presume, or maybe at least several miles away from each other. Let me put it that way. So would get some technical difficulty. Hello. Sorry for the interruption. We're back. I don't know if Mr. Tarawali is able to reach me. Hello? We're still having problem. Yeah, the area. Yeah, go ahead. Ask the question.
Yeah, the question is when you talk about last,
we still get a little problem. Yeah.
So we know say what's the difference between larceny and theft?
Oh, theft. But I don't want to go that direction, but let me just deal with that. Theft, you get a categorical definition by the statute. Like a theft could be shoplifting. Okay? We're going to store, that's theft. You take something, but some state will call on shoplifting. That would be what we will call generally theft. Larceny is a higher could be also another form of theft. That is when you take something what somebody not give you with the intent for deprive the person, because theft, not a legal definition. Larceny is a legal definition. Now I may categorize them. Theft could be a felony, like, where you burglarize somebody else. That is another higher form of theft. But burglary, and larceny is a lower form of theft. But the legal definition usually is called larceny. And some states then categorize, then get what you call misdemeanor larceny. Then you get felony larceny. Depending on, it can be based on the statutory definition. For example, a felony larceny could be if you go into a store, you shoplift merchandise to the tune of $1,000, then go say anything will reach that stage, it will be felonious larceny. Whereas misdemeanor larceny could be maybe something will not exceed $400. But theft, now the general use of dishonest taking away of somebody's property without permission to deceive the person. But larceny, is a legal definition. And all states or all country get different requirements, different elements for establish a case of larceny. But the point I was trying to make was the difference between the duty of the prosecutor and that of the defense attorney. The defense attorney goes to court with one duty only, and that's to make sure that his client is ably and adequately represented. You for do the best you can. That's your primary purpose. You can ably represent somebody even if he's found guilty. There's a quality of representation we get, not the conviction. You can ably represent somebody by pleading guilty, by pleading your client guilty of a crime. All that boils down to assessing the case against your client, the likelihood of conviction, and the likelihood of a very severe sentence. You, the defense attorney, get all the assessments needed to make. The prosecutor, in your assessment, is simply to make sure you are fairly prosecuted, no come up with any engineered evidence, go by the rules established for trying a case, and your concern should not be power you get for win. The state also does justice when the person is found not guilty, as long as the person is well represented. So I be seeing the Palo Conte where some people then be vexed, and I just say, no, the state did not lose. Either way, as long as the prosecutor did the best within the rules, and the jury find the evidence not as convincing enough for acquit the person, the prosecutor has done his job. A prosecutor did not fail to do his job when a person is found not guilty. In fact, that speaks volume of the system, a system that could look, that could allow people of your peers for try you, for listen to evidence against you, and say, well, not think so you do, always think so you do. And also, because people need to understand trials. Also, you could be, if they find you not guilty, does not mean you are innocent, and are two different things. You may not be innocent of the crime, but if the prosecutor not doing job based upon how for present the case and prove all the elements, the law requires that as a matter of law, the person can go scot-free. Let me just break that down. Again, using the elements, example where I give, let me just use larceny again. I did try to use the common law definition, because not the statutory combination. The common law definition is how we learn in a law school. So if larceny say is the taking one element and carrying away element two of the property of another, element three, without that other's consent, element four, then with the intent of depriving this person of property, element five. So there are 5 elements that the prosecution for prove. So if the prosecution prove 1, 2, 3, 4, but not prove, say, well, this person way in perpetuity, this person presumably take out with or without the consent of the owner, the case, as a matter of law, the defense attorney will make a motion for non-suit, and the person will be acquitted as a matter of law. And that will even go to the jury because element 5 was not established. So when you did represent the case, you did hold the government them foot to the fire, so to speak, to make sure every element of the crime that your client is accused of is proven adequately. Okay. So if in a 5 elements you prove 4, you not prove the 5th one, either by omission, maybe you forget, then the person by law is required to go scot-free. It not necessarily mean the person was innocent, but the prosecutor not ably performed in job and failed for proof element 5 or proved that kind of thing. So because sometimes people can ask lawyers them, well, why wouldn't they represent somebody when I know say guilty? So these are some of the technical issues then. Well, sometimes your client not guilty. The public might think say guilty, or your client. Well, first of all, client not going to be guilty until, so the lawyer don't know if the client guilty until the jury find him guilty. But the lawyer will know if the client innocent of the crime or not. The client's going to know. The lawyer will know saying client innocent or no innocent, because part of the requirement when you get a client, you say, tell me all the truth. Now, what you tell me, that's so I will defend you. If you come, you say you're not doing, I will take your word. But now if we go in a court, the government come with 5 eyewitnesses then, we'll see what you do. Now you say if you do. Go ahead. You got a question?
Yeah. I want to come back to law pivot, but even though I understand some people that we not say this as some of the LSC, law do as a Sierra Leone issue, which is right, because not just one based on LSC. We know say plenty people in Apadem by right now we some money for crime we not commit. They get problem with the system where it says everything freeze on the own side. Okay. But me what I want to talk about now is about I listen to what the police say about how they collect them evidence. And now, as a lawyer looking at this, the system in Sierra Leone, and also the way the team they work right now. First, the concern is about the lady where it talks say women in jail, they may abuse them. For I think they may want confession out of them. Talk say if you not tell me that if not help, we're not going to help you out. They may maltreat them. So what, as a lawyer looking at that kind of thing going to court, how does that help a prosecutor or the state or even as the country for if the police act a way? To me, I feel say unprofessional, but it might be different. Maybe it's until not illegal or not. I don't know, because since you know somebody we know about the law, is it okay for intimidate a witness just for get what you need out of them? Make a gesture like that.
Well, let me tell you, there is a whole lot wrong with the system. Sometimes it infuriates me because we can do better. We don't try to establish a system of mediocrity. And that system, they're the victim, are the poor, the ordinary people, which never am a concern. Because if you get money, first of all, like anywhere else in the world, you will get better or the best defense. But interestingly enough, in almost every country, particularly a country like Sierra Leone, 99% of the population, they're poor. They cannot afford a good lawyer. They cannot even afford a lawyer. So when you look at the system, you think in terms of how the system works for the majority of the people, not for some of the people, and how the system works for the people all the time, not to some of the time. So when we make legislations, we pass laws them, it is important that members of parliament, where sometimes without the aid of legal input, they make laws them that add vastly cruelly impact very poor people. I have been maintaining this for a long time that we get to look at the political reality in Australia, and we get for admit a lot of flaws. And I could give you a classic example where they go in our country now as to the manner in which we really trying hard not to improve the system. And are the educated people and do that. First of all, we get a constitutional government with law, with Supreme Court of the land in Australia. Nah, no question about it. Now the Constitution. And the Constitution guarantee everybody fair trial, everybody representation to counsel if you charge with a crime, everybody speedy trial. So what seems to be lacking, and I don't want to speak with authority that I know this as a fact, then procedure. The moment a person is suspected of committing a crime, what we say becomes a suspect by the police, you cannot interrogate him without letting him know any statement he make. You can use it against him. So when I get for advise him of in right, say, will suspect you of a crime or why interrogate you? Okay, even if they not suspect you, why interrogate you? So we want for talk to you. You mind? Then that person they get the right for say, well, what you want to talk to me about? Well, as somebody who found dead, that person they should know that get for talk to the police, which is the problem in Australia, because the police then say, Papa, you get for talk to we, will they arrest you, they go lock you up. At that point, it become some coercion. You try for extract, by coercion or by forcing that person there. Because if you go lock me up, depending on how you lock me up, let's say you put me in a dark room, and I get some phobia, meaning the kind of person, if you lock me in a dark room, I might almost go crazy. I might bang the wall, say, okay, when I open, make a talk. Yeah, what you want? I know, I see would I kill the person because also when I go put me, terrify me so much. If I get for life or commodity, I go commodity. I go tell her what you want for you. So normally, any good legal system for let the defendant know that he now get for talk. Then I want. Two, you get for let the defendant, the witness, not defendant, know that he or she has a right to a lawyer at the time of the interrogation. They should not continue, repeatedly, forcing someone to testify against themselves or to say something when the person insists, say, I don't know, or I know. And even if the person they confess, that person therefore make that confession, they knowingly that confession they will be used against him. It should be recorded. It should be done in such a way, video-wise and audio-wise, so the court will see what happened for say, well, this person wasn't tortured, wasn't threatened, now voluntary confession. So there are a lot of guidelines that are not in place in Australia for a defendant or a suspect. As soon as you become a suspect, even sometimes when you're not a suspect, just a witness. Because in this LSC case, then grab hold of a bunch of people. Not all of them were suspected to have killed or committed a crime, but then just go on this fishing expedition, get like this net where they just bring in everybody, lock them all up, make them feel say they were not free to leave. That's another issue. The person who I want to talk to has to know whether the person is under an arrest. If the person is not under an arrest, the person has a right to know he or she can go and leave anytime. Well, we find difficulty with the top of democracy because this is all part of democracy. We are not mentally prepared to introduce democracy in our country. We just talk them because democracy is hard. Running a government is hard. These are not easy things because you get a lot of power in your hand when you get for use with great deliberation, very carefully, for hurt people, innocent people, and because these rules are all in place for safeguard against an innocent person, where you cannot make whole if you don't maltreat them, if you don't injure them. So, but we're not getting guidelines and they're in place, because right now, as we speak, you get this Camarimba in jail, in detention, who has not been tried, he's not been convicted, he's been there over a year, and the man exercised his right and asked for bail. He was granted bail. Somehow, the Chief Justice, as well as everybody else, have been overruled, and that he's just going to be there. So this is a classic example that we are not prepared, because the judiciary have not been forcing their way to do their own job. They have been put aside and then just sit under the weight. So my understanding is that Camarimba is being held in jail from higher up, from higher authority. Well, there shouldn't be any higher authority more than the Chief Justice, because the president on the political side, the president side, forget any decision making for do with who is released on bail, who is not released on bail. Because when you exercise that kind of a power over someone, every time you do that to one person, you do unto we all, because one, you don't respect the Constitution. Two, you don't believe in human rights. Two, you don't believe in civil liberty. Three, you don't presume the person, and the law in Australia, as it is in the United States, as it is in England and many other countries, Australia, Canada, there's a presumption of innocence. Even when you commit a crime in the presence of eyewitnesses, you are presumed to be innocent. So, well, now, by you being locked up, by you being denied bail, even when a judge, and this is what is so interesting about this, it's so extraordinary, even when a judge granted bail, the person is still being held. Here are some solutions I have been making from time to time, because the Bar Association need for try for the system for work. I'm going to get back to the LSE case. When things like that happen, the lawyers representing these guys, you can file a writ with the court compelling the director of prisons for release this guy. And sometimes you may not be able to get him released, but you will know why he is not going to be released, because that director they will get for kind of courts, they will get for say whether they get a judge's order and who is behind the judge's order not being executed, and whether in the director of prison is following prison's regulations. Because bear in mind, the courts can only issue order, but they don't get enforcement power. So the courts get to work in conjunction with the rest of the other areas of the executive. And this is what makes democracy another difficult thing to put in practice. The courts, even though they are supposedly independent, the courts, what would they call the judiciary, their independence is very limited because they don't get enforcement power. That power there for carry out an order by the judge. When the judge say release this person, arrest this person, that can only be accomplished if under the guidelines set up and at the executive, they provide the assistance there through the police for enforce or through law enforcement, because different countries, some places like America will get police, will get sheriff, will get highway patrol. These are all law enforcement. But we back home in Australia, not just through the police. So the court, the judiciary, as a practical matter, cannot enforce the orders unless you get assistance from the executive, where now the chief, now the police, they will put an with it. But what you would see in Australia, there is no enforcement mechanism at all. Somebody can overrule a court, but it's a dangerous practice because you make an entire body with great responsibility useless by overpowering them with executive power. So these are some of the things that with me they say bad. So in the LSE case, The first thing they should have done, them police officer, now for explain the rights of them people, they too need to understand the constitution of the country. Some of these cases must be challenged by lawyers. You know, you get for force the Supreme Court or the Court of Appeals to make definitive rulings on the case there. You know, so because if we do not do that, it not will ever change. They should go to court. Then the other problem we will get in Australian, where all this is just, for example, LSC say when it was convicted in case the appeal did not come up until about 5 or 6 years. I mean, this is so unjust. It's so unfair, you know, to someone who may have been innocent of the crime of which he was accused. And the court of appeals, what kind of process is that? Salone is not a very busy country in terms of litigation. So it shouldn't take 7 years, 5 years, 2 years, let a whole year for an appeal to come up. Now we understand that in a country like this, that is a highly litigious society, and there are plenty of cases, there is never any shortage of cases in courts, okay? I always give example, like here, Musamide, even traffic court, one court, and there are several traffic courts, but we get a courtroom 101. On a given day, they get 700 to 1,000 cases. This is not one court among many traffic courts. We'll get, this is just one town, one city, not to the state that they talk about, okay? On a given day, you get 700 to 1,000. And I've always said, I like if we get an attorney general or a chief justice who's interested in improving the system, they should look elsewhere at other people in the running system. They cannot do any better for the country if they don't know anything any better. I've even always offered to a lot of officials then back home, the ones I've met, if you are in the area and you don't mind coming by, I will invite you in my own jurisdiction and take you around and show you how the system works, how these people are able to dispose of 700 to 1,000 cases in one day, one courtroom. Now, this place here, they get several courtrooms. They're dealing with thousands of cases a day. But there's one particular court is designed in such a way to handle minor cases, misdemeanor cases, and that court they dispose of 700 to 1,000 cases. So in this LSC case, as far as we know, Mr. Tarale, interrupt me anytime, because anytime you feel like it. Now you're muted.
Am I muted?
Okay, go ahead. Oh,
yeah, I'm not sure to have explain the thing I have got for people, but some people will be lost in it. Well, I'm allowed as we go with the connect some of the things to the LSC case so that people will see who's where they come from and how, because for the future or something may not happen back, people will see, okay, now this may not happen, or if it's that same thing happen in the future, we know how for the police will be careful how for collecting evidence. The court will be careful, no, so okay, now the public don't begin to aware about some of the things that happen. And also the rights of citizens them. Like when you talk right now, you're not supposed to give statement without a lawyer. I believe say more than 70 to 80% of people in Salone don't know that. The officer, anytime the police ask you, they intimidate you, you need for talk. If you're not talking, they say you're guilty. And not say as much as we always want to defend myself, no matter what. But at the same time, it incriminates yourself because at the end of the day, that statement the way you give, they don't record them the police. If you go to court, you change them or you meet up a counsel, we will say, okay, no, you don't supposed to say this. Now this is supposed to say. Then we'll talk to now you're guilty. So I believe says when things are important for the family, no say, hey, not to alter you for talk to police. But at the end of the day, the other thing back again, we will say that yes, it sounds good, but we forget to say policeman intimidate the people. Then come and we don't want to talk, they begin slap you, begin beat you and kick you. You not get no choice but for talk. Waiting at that person there, your legal rights against the police if they can intimidate them, beat them drastically because they don't want to talk. So what can you advise to a citizen where that will happen to?
The advice, the mechanism exists in Australia for take action individually against the police. You can take civil action, but it's hard to do without the assistance of a lawyer. This is where the Bar Association for the conduct seminars. You see, this is a complex situation. And the sad part about Sierra Leone, they don't want to learn anything new. They just want the system. I'm talking about the powers to be. They don't even try for learn other system for help the people. Sierra Leone problem, not to just politicians, the professionals, the legal professional and the medical profession, they're just as equally culpable because they should be conducting seminars to new lawyers then. They should be holding even public seminars to non-lawyers. So people need to know what action, because people feel helpless. Like nobody in Australia would think, say, he can sue a police officer. It's unthinkable. But now the lawyer then for the tell them say, yes, when I get it right. I mean, when I can count we get this kind of program. If a police slap you, if a police pinch you, yes. If a police abuse you sexually or otherwise, I mean, we can institute civil action. And one way the Bar Association can improve the system is by, if you bring a lot of civil cases, well, what is going to happen? Let's say the courts don't want to rule on them. Well, when they get 10, 20, 40,000 cases sitting down, they will realize how deficient they themselves have been. But now the courts, this is not being exposed to people. That the police not going to write for coerce you, not going to write for force you, for talk. Not going to write, and the right of detention, because CID seem to get free will for not only intimidate, not only threaten, but they get the power to almost torture you, forget the confession out of you. And to the point of where, waiting the one for theory, then they use the system for punish you. Okay? So there's a lot of learning to the ordinary person. Going back to the LSE case, a lot of things went wrong. When you listen to the narrative of LSE himself and this young lady, the police, they miss out on a lot of things. If they don't get forensic laboratory, what we call an back home we say laboratory, for they don't get forensic laboratory, well, tough luck, because the government should have a top-class forensic laboratory. There is money for it, and the international organizations, then where they help they will more than likely. The international organization, where they send we money for other things, they will be more than happy for provide a laboratory for take care of them kind of a thing here, But we not to do that. We not to put priority on serious things, like medical, like the legal process. So they cannot turn around and start saying, "Oh, well, we'll do the best we can." There's no such thing as doing the best you can when somebody's life they in danger. So there was a lot that could have been done, that should have been done. Now, again, another thing we may understand about the trial, all the CCTV cameras, none of them, or the tapes, were not introduced by the state, and I don't know that as a fact. This is what Indians say. They were not introduced by the state nor the defense.
Yes.
Well, first of all, here's the responsibility. In every criminal case, and I think that same situation may arise in the Palo Conte case, where I think the defense took the position that he did not try to take a gun into the area of where the president was and this kind of thing, and then they say he had a gun, which were two different things. Taking a gun into the building was a violation, which we will call misdemeanor, that warranted 2 years and a switch back and forth. This is the Palo Conte case. Then trying to take a gun in to where the president was another matter. The defense asked for the video. The prosecution refused. That's professional misconduct, because the law requires that the prosecution give to the defense. That's the way it is in England, in America, and I'm sure in Sierra Leone. You must, if the prosecution has exculpatory evidence, meaning evidence we'll go prove the defendant in innocence or the accused in innocence, because we use defendant a lot now, then they say accused. That's Salone. But if the prosecution gets any such evidence, which is generally referred to as exculpatory, you must, as a matter of ethics, as a matter of law, provide that exculpatory evidence there to the defense. Or the prosecution, if they get any such evidence, it's enough basis for them to know either what charges to bring against the defendant, or whether the defendant is in fact innocent of the crime, or to make sure you charge the defendant.
But now let's go back to the LSC back. Mr. Sheila, let's go back to Mr. LSC, because we talk about, you bring something at the beginning of this interview, you talk, say maybe it get down at the pool. This is just, we just talk about what you say. What's not the responsibility of in the Maui on the host or the person in the party? What's not the responsibility if it happens? Let us say this may happen, it happened for the ground at the host day.
Okay, this is where the development of the law comes into play. Now, because the law forbids, the law, you can write them as statute, and it will take into account all situations. Now, when things go wrong, the court itself, then decision, they become law. Now, if in this country, if in any advanced country, we not get any excuse, not for they in the category of advanced country, because we just can't let leaders them just say, oh, we're not developing country, this and that. We don't pass that stage there. We should be as advanced as many other countries will be there ahead of. So now their advanced country, if you get a swimming pool, now you host. You forget clearly posted sign that you invitees them may be free to swim, and you will not be held responsible if anything happens. There should be posted signs. And if you get a swimming pool, now you are required to have it fenced, because a swimming pool is generally considered an attractive nuisance, in the sense that it attracts animals, it attracts children. The average Pekin, if you see a pool, you don't get enough sense for appreciate the danger, is attracted to the pool. It will go a jump there. It can be 6 foot, it can be 12 foot, it will drown. So you are required to fence it. You are also required, if Pekin and one can't swim like a swimming pool, even when you fence them, forget parental consent. And then even when you allow them, an adult, the area should be supervised by an adult. So there are a lot of guidelines. Salone, I don't think would have developed to that point there, because we know they take the system serious. So when you ask what's the duty, he may not by law have any duty at all. What we can call in civil law duty of care. He may not be obliged to the guest and I host provide any duty of care.
So hypothetically, if the guy in the ground in pool, the law is supposed to hold on?
No, because unless there is a statute, there is a law, there is an ordinance, we govern that situation there. Say if you get a house, you get a swimming pool, somebody died there, you will be presumed, which will be unconstitutional, but you'll be presumed to be guilty unless you prove yourself innocent. Otherwise, you don't get no responsibility. You don't get no duty of care. You know? If you're an adult, you go in the pool, you go for them there, you drown, then can't charge them with any crime. It's not a crime, as far as I know.
Okay.
You see the problem?
I want to class on facts. As they go, the class on facts is very Google land. This is for me. Now let's talk about the LSC saga as well. According to the lady, it say LSC come with a couple of guys and with them Canada party. Then after, past 3 days 2 or 3 days when they say no see LSC. DJ Clef. I'm sorry about that. DJ Clef will call 2 or 3 people at the party. Later in the final say they not see him. So when I look at this case, what happened to the people where the old men come? What's not the testimony where they not hold them, they not even arrest them, or what then say where cause only 2 people away understands, because for just clarify and not to only and DJ LC them hold another guy with named G Fag, where them later release. They started two them in convicts. It was LC, another guy then called G Fag, according to the newspaper, the AFCON newspaper. So I don't know what's not the testimony, how they convict them to what's not the guy that wouldn't carry the boy, because we always say Salone the man work by group. We really say most cases when all come and all can left back together. So what's not the situation now where we know hearing about them people their own testimony in the, because we know hearing from neither the police or himself about them people where they carry the guy and where they left for sure say whether the guy may left the compound or he may go or not he die. So what's not you think about that in terms of the court in your decision?
Well, this is very interesting. The man came with two other people, not the party. There is no evidence as to whether he ever left. And if he did, how did he leave? There is no evidence. The other troubling portion to me is, just like you say, ordinarily, if you come with two people, you would think, and then go without the deceased, you would think the prime suspect would be the two guys who came with him. That's one. But two, why would you attend a party with somebody where you come? Most likely they use the same transportation. And like you say, normally they all go back together because people then tend to work in group. Why isn't the police their first instinct for interrogate the two people? Or did they? Maybe they did. But with all the saga we don't get, we not seem to get any connection or anything as to who these guys are, whether the police talk to them, whose role they play, and so on and so forth. Then it turns out also, based upon what we know, that this, the person who became with this DJ Cliff, one of them, I think they say one had returned back to overseas where he be there in a short while or the next day. And then this other person, where he came with, was not charged with any crime or was not even treated as a suspect. We will not get no indication as to waiting that particular person the way he came with, who was he, what was his name, whether he was a suspect. So it's a very interesting case in the sense that it clearly indicates the inefficient manner in which the matter was investigated, you know? So, because so far, all we've heard on this LSC case, I am yet to hear or see or know of any evidence will make him culpable, meaning he get anything to do with the death. And he may just be a very rascally type of criminal. But the law doesn't say because you can convict somebody on suspicion. You may get strong indications that the person do them, but the proof has to be there to connect him with the crime. And this is one thing we're not able to see anywhere with all the explanation, not even from the government.
According to the police, they didn't say they go to a house, they find blood in certain room with a bad odor and some flies. Now they then connect it. Now, according to them, they feel signs that room they then kill him, and body decompose before they find a way for take him out of the compound and go to another bag and go outside and go find the body. So, what's now you don't think about that and find the outside because that's the circumstantial evidence for sure saying that he died inside the house.
Then can't forget evidence for backup what they say, because what they say not necessarily be truthful or gospel. Now, the CCTV cameras were still there when they go investigate. Well, did the camera pick them up? This man, the defense attorney that then job down there, for say, okay, if that what you want to say is correct, let us see the CCTV camera. There we see when we arrive. Let us see when our movements around. Let us see when the people who work at the party arrive. The CCTV camera was the major piece of evidence that the defense should have never let go, should have insisted upon. A good defense attorney will have said, if I cannot get that, then I go what you call interlocutory appeal. I go appeal to the Court of Appeal for let the court give a ruling as to whether my client can be deprived of the CCTV camera where I believe say get evidence of my client's innocence. And the court is bound to accept such defense. I mean, such request, where you will call a motion. And if the Court of Appeals refuse, take it up to the Supreme Court. The problem is the quality of representation is the problem there. If, in fact, it turned out that the CCTV cameras were never ever used at this trial, that is a shame. That's a poor reflection on the group of people that would defend this young man, because that should have never happened. If it turns out to be, that turned out to be the case, by all indication that we see to have happened, you know.
But in another,
so if they say so,
in another nutshell,
if they say so,
just in the side of the prosecutor now, because we find out say by listening to the guy himself, he may inconsistent in delivery. I mean, so many cases. In talks that was 12 or 13 CCTV, I mean, 10 to 12 CCTV camera. A couple of people in Carbonite journalists and another lady in talk say, no, we're going to do we only found one camera. The other one, they don't dismantle. I mean, talk say, one of the other musician guy, we in Foyo. And I think a Foyo, I mean, they out throughout the night. Foyo said, no, we meet in a club, we spend about 30 minutes. So, as a prosecutor, and the jury, you feel say because of a very inconsistent in delivery and also the people that would debunk them, does that make them a more of a prime suspect in this case? Say there's more to this case that more to this case than it tell?
Well, I wouldn't classify that as inconsistent. Let me tell you, because some of them change a matter of judgment. And you'll be amazed. I've been involved in trials where people get stabbed or hurt, and an eyewitness will say, I see what happened. When you begin for cross-examine them tightly, you find out he don't know as much as he thought he knew. Okay, if you say, I see where he gripped the man, you say, for how long he gripped him? First of all, whose part of the man in body he gripped him? Then you say, oh, my neck. Okay, for how long he hold the neck? And describe to the court how he hold the neck. You can use the defense attorney, or you can demonstrate that all of that is part of a fair defense. Okay, he say, well, he hold on like this way for 3 minutes. A good trial attorney will say, you sure about 3 minutes? I don't get no doubt, sir. You sure? Because you know you cannot have to tell the truth. Yes, 3 minutes. Well, you may not know how long 3 minutes is until you ask the court, say, Your Honor, I would like to demonstrate for Mr. Such and such, or the witness to demonstrate how it happened, and let's do it for 3 minutes. You get a stop clock. You get that demonstration day. 3 minutes is like forever. So if on a defense, practically, he could not have held the person at that position day for 3 minutes because they were tussling. Okay? But in mind, tell us in 3 minutes. So you see, sometimes, inconsistent. Now, snap judgment people, maybe say, how long this happened? How much it take? Well, it take 5 minutes. It take 4 minutes. But when you put that clock, that stop clock, then you make the cut. Just sit down. Let the clock begin tick. Till you go to 1 minute. Till you go to 2 minutes. Till you go to 3 minutes. Then you ask, let me just hold themselves the map for all that time there. It doesn't work like that as a practical matter. But that's what the defense attorney does. You try to bring out the poor recollection and the unbelievability of the witness and the unreliability of the witness in eyewitness testimony, that what you see, where they describe, is not what actually happened. That's what cross-examination is all about. That's what trial skills are all about. So that goes to another thing. Who are training lawyers back home to try cases? In most countries, you get trial lawyers, some of whom have natural gift to try cases, because a good trial lawyer for no good rules of evidence, a good trial lawyer for be a man we understand human interaction and just common sense. You get for be commonsensical, so to speak. So, and a good trial lawyer may not be the guy when I be the number one, when I the smartest guy in a school, not law school. But he get a natural thing for winning a case. The guy when I be number one could be a very poor trial lawyer. You get a case, you say that this man be they can't force in a class, he go lose him. They're not going to even try efficiently because not your natural skill and. But that
Okay, for
same
me,
good lawyer, huh?
people in the active here can have for me make calls.
Oh,
The people in the
yeah.
then the active here can for me make calls.
Yeah, the lines are open. The lines are open
Okay.
to make calls. Yeah.
Okay.
For me, I like
Because
the
people in the
lines
action
to be
then the
open at
action
any
get on
time.
Facebook. Okay,
I'm
go ahead.
sorry.
Because I just want to
Yeah,
clarify
the
that
lines are
because
open.
they
People, you
ask
can call at any time and get in.
okay,
So,
yeah. That
well,
makes sense.
let me just go for a call
Yeah, the call
right now. So hello caller. What's your name? Who's the call from?
Yeah. Thank you very much. Name is Ibrahim Kolomari from the US.
Okay.
VOS, I like to contribute to this program and then also the like for what. Sometimes, I'm sorry to say this, the panelists and they make something very dangerous. Now, this is a trial of one of the most serious offenses in the country. And somebody sits there and trash all the lawyers and trash all the systems and believe somebody will apparently don't escape justice, goes to go somewhere and make a fake video and kind of decide that rather than accepting the fact of the case we not get, and then the evidence adduced during trial, and then the appeal papers we find. You not see none of those, but they trash everything that was happening. But then apparently they side with the man in video because that is that they don't see. This is not fair. That man was represented by no less a person than one-time director of public prosecution of the Republic of St. Louis, together with very senior lawyers. He lost the case. He was convicted by a jury, not just one judge. It's a jury, and then he appealed. You know what's in that process there? Don't come and sit on TV and trash a system. I don't like to say this, but I have to say it for Salone. You know, if you're an expert, you have to talk like an expert, and then you guide people and say, this is why they say so, not personal, but it may not be the fact of this case. That is acceptable. But if you trash everything and side with somebody else, I just wanted to put that out there. I'm sorry to say, but this is not fair. And it's very dangerous for our country as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, caller. I think, say, make us clarify something here. Most of these people they talk about the defense, not to the prosecutor. Most of the things they come about because the court will say the defense, according to what the guys say and what we don't hear from the police, there's a lot of laughs. We all want justice for this guy. Me, now one of the people that we are talk see, like I say, personally, I not even like the guy, I not like LC. But LC in case can apply to any one of we. This is where we're trying to look at when we talk about. It's easy for a prosecutor in Sierra Leone prove a case than the defense because of the way the system is built. But the prosecutor is not always right. This is where we're trying to look at some things and say, okay, hold on. Was the defense doing a good job or a bad job in terms of collecting the evidence? Because when we look at LSC, we not see perception there around them. This is the way first I said, I don't like the guy. But let me look at the case itself and see if there's merit in this case, according to the strike, in terms of court. If again, the guy talk about intimidation. Other person come back to the police and beat and this is common thing. We all know. How many people don't want to say they don't lock them up for social and do for how long? There's a lot of things here where we need for talk for change system. We're not going to change them. We're not going to change them just like that if we not point out some of the flaws. This we're not trying to say the guy guilty. Mr. Chile, we're not talking about it might be say he do one, but how they collect the thing here. So I just want to clarify. Over to you, Mr. Sheila.
Yes. Okay. Now I appreciate the gentleman calling. First of all, he mischaracterized everything we would say. He used the word trash. Would it trash the defense? I don't know of. He cannot show any evidence of which we talk now. We're not trashing the defense. We talk about the defense, and we qualify. I keep qualifying my statement that if it is true that the cameras were not shown or the tapes, that the defense should have insisted. I don't know if that's trashing. When you qualify your statement, that if it is true, we are not stating anything as a fact. Repeatedly, you go back, the gentleman would call, review the tape or review the recording. I try for conditions, say, without the opportunity of having the record before we. We're not saying nothing negative. We're not trash the judge about anything we talk about. So I don't know why. And you need to understand, we talk about the process. And if you even talk about the process, we talk about the defense and the prosecution. I try to make when I understand, say, the prosecution gets a duty for prove every element of the crime. Otherwise, the defendant can go scot-free. And I also make you know, say, innocence of the crime and not guilty are two different things. So I will hope people are listening very carefully. But you see, sometimes you can cloud your mind. If
for somebody ask me, why make us not like LSC? The short term was on TV and stuff, in behavior, you get it, like the image in the portray and the image where say easy for people to come after you, because to me I feel say now a wrong image they put up for young people then, because that image where it portray on social media or as what watching video the way they display things and I host it make most of the young people become lazy and feel say where you find where you get things and the way in say you get out, but this mystic away where you say you get out. And that will make you get plenty of criminals in the country. So because of that kind of behavior, where it portray when you see, I'm not a fan of him. I think say, I let somebody way it show humility. But again, and not to say I hate her as a person, I just not like him personality. So if they call her the officer,
quick, let me clarify, yes. Because there are many callers, but I just want to, because the person we call, I want for me, because we say this will process here and our educational process also. We want to make sure, say, people understand that we want the system for work for the rich and the poor and for everybody. Okay, you never know when your loved one will be a victim. So when we talk about the process, me not to look at LSC, I don't know him. He's just the symbol of what you would talk about with justice system. The gentleman will call just now, unless he feels that the system is perfect, police then get the right for beat you, then get the right for lock you up, then get the right now for tell you, say, you not get for talk to them, then get the right for insist that you tell them which in the one area. Unless he say that one day, unless they try for justify, say, because the gentleman say, well, they appeal, the man appeal in case. Yes, he did. Well, unless you try for tell me, say, nothing no wrong with you appeal, if you appeal take 5 years hanging out there, where you then are jail, and you still presume to be innocent, even though they'll convict you, but the case is an appeal. So unless this gentleman think all of that is right, well, he's entitled to your opinion. But we the talk in terms of trying to make the system work efficiently for everybody. Exactly. Get for be LSC, and this gentleman with the talk, so we'll get for to come to the other part. Let's see how the system gets a lot of brothers there. For simple thing as marijuana, okay, then they na hold in cell na Pademba Road for months. So Monday day na Pademba Road 2 years over silly things like traffic. Well, unless the gentleman we call feel say the government get right for do that to people, but otherwise there is a lot about the system that can be improved. We problem na Africa, we don't want suggestions, we don't want improvement. We'll figure, say, it is what it is. So let me go to the next caller.
All right.
Hello, caller.
Then they hold himself, na Pademba Road for.
No, caller, you're on the line now. Caller, you're on the line. Go ahead.
Hello, caller.
Thank you very much. This is Harun Zubairu, Lawyer Shilon, and CEO, thank you for accepting the call. Me fumble them today, I would wholeheartedly go against Dr. Shilon or Lawyer Shilon and also the BUS. We fumble them. This young man what they call DJ Clef, a Sierra Leonean. Somebody go a killer. It take him, it cut him by pieces and kill him. Lawyer Shilon, you are acting like you defend DJ Clef. And this particular, not
the
only
DJ Clef and the victim.
No, LSC. I think you mean LSC.
LSC you mean, right?
No, it's people that died. The journalist explained about the CCTV that the whole pull a day before the police and the body. And I'm wondering CCTV. We go against Mr. LAC. We all know that. The policeman give a detailed explanation about this man, about this person with them killed. Not only that, the rod will be done at the floor. The journalist gets a video where it showed the blood and the mark of the carpet. You don't say the sister's blood. But 12 people then come and say, they listen to everything and then come to the conclusion and say, this man is guilty. Mr. I know people then, I don't allow anybody that can come and say in the media, they can defend and the LSC. Majority of the people who come on jail today, then they become crippled. And they see come on jail, it looks like I say, na America a command. And they see come and make a video, it's like how we say it cry, where it not cry, where it is quote from the Bible, where it not a religious person, where it is inconsistent, they tell me say it go, some sign, I didn't go sleep 12 o'clock in the afternoon. That question the man, what to make the eyes go? We are following the people, we are Salone and them, and we are Smithsonian. Under no circumstance, people will kill with people and that, and will not say anything. Why make the president decide to say it is fully under a young man? If there is good evidence that this man do this, but anybody when they come out the media, who can be stop remind, you go come against you guys strongly. We know exactly what LSC do. We fumble them. I don't know what's in that LSC job. When we fumble them, I want to make them realize this by this word. People and they kill people them for organs them, for go sell them for make money. Then they take you kidney, they sell a go, including India and all over the world. Then they take your liver, both sell them. This kind of amount of money where this man gets, we get to know who's that police money, where people and they afraid and so, where they spend money so they can drunk and seller. We get a question if that organ they it is sell. But they kill people them and take and sell them. Again, I don't know if they do, but are the questionable area the other day. Me, are they against this all after they say the system? Yes, I know the system is what? Yes, we know that. But this particular case, you know, pass its first and say people always support this man. It's a reason, there's an ulterior motive. On level the Yari, people like Kutubu, they talk that kind of talk to the public. It's wrong. It's wrong. Nothing I'm in the business, but it's wrong.
Okay, is it okay, Mr. Shilo? Is it okay if I just remodel your quick?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You're welcome.
Okay. Yeah, Mr. Zubairu, Namawa respect, and Namawa decide for get a higher position at the country as a mayor, which possibly I get utmost respect for. But at the end of the day, first of all, me and one person I put a video out and talk say we need for no say they got the pulling money, and I just talk now. I say Gigi's not say because of that attitude, they mean not to possible. I'm not a fan of the guy. But at the same time, just like we talk about organ deal and all that things, we get to be careful. Look, emotion get to be different from the law. These are two different things we get to put now. Okay. We at the talk now. We also the talk about for a lot of put things out for let the DJ Clef family will get the justice they need for whoever kill him, but they get a clear picture of who the killer is. We don't need for go hide back this and no because of feelings towards this guy. I'm not a fan of the guy. But at the end of the day, let me look at how the case go and how they prosecute the people then, and how they collect the evidence. This is what we need to look at. Because like we said today, it's about perception. It might be say they take organs, this and that, but until they catch the organ in hand. It might be say the money on like I said, I get a big question about how he gets the money. And I will continue to ask that until we figure out how this guy gets the money. It's different but the case we talk about right now, from the evidence and for the people who don't come on social media tell say this is how we gather our evidence. It's different. Because at the end of the day, we not love to take LSC out of this question. We got so many people in Akadem by right now in a language for similar thing where courts not able to prove that they're guilty because of somebody in perception. And there's a lot of things we need to be careful with perception against somebody and the reality way it perceive with them. So I want to be clear that. Would they argue that person would they in favor of this guy? Me not support Kutubu yourself. I don't even know Kutubu say what time. But at the end of the day, me they look at waiting come out. The girl in you, waiting the girl say, waiting LSA say, waiting couple of policemen don't cancel. I me get so many things on social media before I come up and say, there's something wrong there. Even the journalist we talk to. There's a lot of things where we need where the cutting for go for proof beyond a reasonable doubt. Most especially with the CCTV camera where they say they get. If they not get them, nobody can't tell me say they not get them, they not take them. Instead the police get them, the police not clarify whether they get them or not. They're not waiting there. They say some things and they will need follow. Why make way? But everybody at the place. We just talk about two people where the guy come with. Wait them. What's happened to them? This guy, the other guy, where they released last year. Why make them release them? Because they say them in convict them. Why make the lady who get the party? They say not a suspect in this case. So there are a lot of questions we need for put, not only the perception because of the guy gets young bad habits, we just go for jump day. Now we look at where the evidence take us. And now we follow the legal side. I mean, look at the personal side, look at the legal side. We all get from in a salon. We all see people in the laws. We don't see organ harvesting is too much in a salon. But at the same time, if we catch the people, we can put them out there. But for say, okay, because we get the money, now that need to do. It might be something to do, but until we get the evidence that we get for be careful how will you go. Because as a leader, you get for be careful, not about your feelings. And not like in personality, but I don't mean I will say until I get the evidence or the evidence lead me to even the circumstantial evidence. I ask you that question by NC several times. Waiting at circumstantial evidence, so I go point to somebody say this is the circumstantial evidence where I go tie it to a crime, which he explained to me, which is different. And the only thing the police say, I repeat them, they say they smell at the hose and also flies at the room. Is that enough to convict somebody? So this is where we coming from. Not just to come into emotionally. I look at the legal side of it and see is this enough? Because somebody can die, and that person need for know the killer, where the killer, that family need a closure. So we need for be careful to do now, and we need to try for jump into emotional. We want to look at the legal side. Let me bring you in as a legal man. Say lead way to this year, and let me explain to people. We know the take side now, but we want to explain to people for see I'm not open them up. Now we take emotion out and look at the legal side. So Mr. Zubair, this is what we're coming for. It's not about emotion. It's about the legal side of it. So over to you, sir. I'm not going to get back on the line, but
yeah, very quickly because we get other callers there. I appreciate Mr. Tarawali your explanation, and I want to let people understand. When I was a young lawyer, if I had a client like LSC and I get a juror on the jury, like Mr. Zubairu, I mean, all I would do is to say, listen, in the opening arguments, I'm not here trying for conviction and say my client innocent. In the opening, I'm not here to tell you now anything other than the fact that he's been charged with this crime. On a duty now for listening to the prosecutor, he gave for proof 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 elements. Say my client do that, and my client now is presumed to be innocent as he sits here beside me. This is the law, not to be what I wish. In the opening, I'll tell the jury that. I want, what would the pick when I for put you down, when I promise say when I go follow the law. We're not have a personality and contest in this courtroom. If you may see me client is flamboyant, you know, like him in personality, like as Mr. Tarawali say, I'll prove guilty. If that's what he's here for, we're not going to even do a trial. He's guilty, but that's not what it is. So we want to learn and know how to separate issues. The state get a responsibility. This is what I was trying to explain to people, but people, I think what is really confusing people, some people have so much dislike, so much animus for this guy, then they fail to realize that when he get justice, everybody gets justice, because now the whole essence of the law. The law is even the unpopular person is entitled to a fair trial. But what I hear people saying is almost the argument people make about political party. If the party where they support thief, then no corruption. Now what the other party thief, now in corruption. Now what the other party do this, then in corruption. So now, but again, that's what defense attorneys do. People like me, I go try to explain. I appreciate the people and where they take positions. I love to have people like Mr. Zubairu and others in the jury. I will take the time. I will explain to you what is your duty. And if you can separate your emotions, you dislike, you know, I go on for know if you, before we sit you on the jury, I go on for know if you don't suffer any casualty as a result of death or something as a result of crime. Because we need to understand. So when I talk about the system is lacking. So the previous gentleman would say, oh, the trash. No, we're not the trash any individual. I don't even know what gave him that idea. You know, would they say the system need improving? Believe me, if we don't think say the system is the way it is, there's no hope for Sierra Leone, because it is not right. There are over 2,000 people in the prisons for traffic offenses, for some people in the developmental condition now we jails them. How can anybody who knows what he's talking about say, oh, people are trashing people? Why are we taking a critical analysis of a situation, of a system, as trashing the system? Why would we not want to entertain suggestions how to improve the system? And this sounds easy until your loved ones get caught up in that system. Then you realize that the system should improve. So today na LSC, tomorrow it can be you young Pekin, because when you Pekin grow up, you go to Cape Sirao, you go to the beach, you don't get control of it, you don't know what you could do, you don't know the people they hang around. So they need laws, we all need laws for Pekin, grand Pekin them, brothers, sister, daughters, for protecting.
Make I just make an example here, Mr. Sheila. Make I just, because also get callers and don't apologize, now just give me 1 minute. Me and small sister na Freetown, them poison them in two picking them. In two picking them die inside Freetown. In the hospital, fight say, someone rush up, say we got the income back to. What happened now? The pathology na Connaught Hospital give a death certificate to all for only one picking. They take a two picking them, put them inside coffin, beg them, picking that from poison. They're not arrest nobody, investigate nothing. This is the system. A pathology where in Connaught Hospital end up take two picking and put them inside one coffin and go bury. Is this now me own niece and nephew? About picking away about 10 and 7 years old. Me own small sister and your two picking and died the same day. The system nowhere. Where a pathology and policeman, nowhere able to investigate nothing, absolutely nothing. They don't even call nobody for question. So if we talk now, we talk for talk now, say, me not go take them as a vendetta, but we take us make other person in your family not go through this. If we able, God make we able go through easily, we walk them through. But to make other family not go through this again. Lord, don't put a system where somebody knows if you commit a crime, the system will catch you easily. Because if we get DNA, if we get DNA lab, if we get other things, it will be easier to prove this case in a court. Now then, tell the advocate for make with the point the lapses out, so that all my going to see. Now then, see how we need. So in case then see happen, then case that will easy for Sky, because that family, whether they see them, they still don't know whether they do or not. They're not getting closure what they need, and the family need closure. DJ Clef, the family need closure. That is what we're trying to say. So over to you, sir, and then I know so we can call us them.
Well, yeah, we get other callers them. So I don't want to beat the point to death, but I just want to let people understand where we're coming from. Nobody is speaking in defense of LSC, but we cannot ignore the process by which he was convicted. Nor should we ignore in your statement where he come on the media, the tell we. But whatever analysis we make now for the good of the country, I hope people understand that this has nothing personal, because I don't even know the gentleman. Yeah, hello caller. What's your name? Where side you call from?
My name is Moriba calling. I call from Colombo, Ohio.
All right.
Yes, sir. Go
ahead. To start with, me not be policeman in Leon. I served in the police force for 15 years. Just like how Mr. Chilo did say, beaucoup things went wrong with that case. In cases like that, hello?
Yeah, go ahead.
What area?
Yeah. In cases like that, in my own experience, what did they teach me after the restructuring of the police force in 2002? In murder case, you don't have to rely much on statements from witnesses of whatever complainant. You have to look at the evidences at the scene of crime. The scene of crime speaks volume. The scene of crime speaks volume. I don't listen all the people that they talk from LAC, from even former police boss. But the point of conviction where I get here is, Mr. Sizman, they tell me, when they went to the primary scene of crime, that is LAC's house, they got some bodily fluid. My question is, that bodily fluid they didn't get, did they do any DNA analysis to ascertain that the bodily fluid was from the victim, DJ Clef? Secondly, The secondary scene of crime, which was where the disease was found, they'll be able to do any fiber analysis for let them know, say, the materials where they find at that scene of crime, it relates to the primary scene of crime. That is the thing we are not able to understand. Then thirdly, when you investigate a criminal case, you have what to call criminal profiling. You have to go into the mind of the criminal. How the criminal they think, because nobody knows the way they committed heinous crimes then, where you go on, let them easily catch them on the way. Yeah. So as a criminal profiler, you have to go into the mind of the criminal. My number one question there is, why somebody go on commit a heinous crime like that, and you know the punishment if he's caught? Why that person will go on now a party atmosphere, a place, a venue where over 50 people then day? Why he go plan for do and day? Now the thing that they are not able to analyze. Then the only question I get, if there is a way forward, what this bodily fluid when Mr. Sizeman talk about, did they really keep it safely in scientific lab at the police? Because you know kind of officers, they didn't get scientific lab, they be keep it safely, and the man will do the post-mortem. If they able to take record of the victim in bodily fluid, keep on for future analysis, because like America has to more.
I wish this person was able to get, because he is talking so much sense. And
they can preserve the bodily fluid, them, they keep them, even 15, 20 years, that they able to get the actual person will do the deed. Then the other thing where I go really like, I try to understand. When you look at LAC at the
let
time
him continue.
of crime, a physical abuse, and that of the victim, DJ Clef, with a strong conviction, the LAC in one cannot be able to attack DJ Clef and kill him without another conspirators. That is my belief. In one to one, you know, we will kill him. Yes. And if not in one kill him, police ever dig for let them know the other conspirators? These are the questions really is very hard to understand. Then above all, they find a murder weapon, and the pathologist be able to explain the murder weapon, the weapon where they really take use for kill the man. The pathologist suggests that if the pathologist suggests the weapon where they kill the man, police be able to get that weapon. Just like Mr. Chilon say, a lot of questions in this case here will going to be very hard for really understand what is going on. Then the last but not the least, what was the motive? Now the human sacrifice, now body organ harvest, that we don't get grudge. So those are the confusions that they want to able to understand. When me boss me they talk, I with due respect, and they train we. Yes, and they train we with due respect. I'm not going to even say I have to be the way person. Then I will boss them. But I doubt them. But the plan is all, my only two suggestion is the social media, the artists of Sierra Leone, they push that case too far, it reach a level. Police say, well, it's not just trifle and we need. Let them go straight on a court. But you cannot charge somebody to court for murder with circumstantial evidence. Yes. So, and the few questions that if other caller than they, or if we're able to analyze that to me, I just understand.
All right, sir. Please, I will appreciate you call it and left your number, because we may want for hearing from you again. Do I left your number now with billboard there? Now,
yeah, okay.
Now,
Okay,
Mr. Tarrant, you get
No, I said we got our callers and not on the bring them in first, then we'll analyze it after which. We'll analyze the questions them later.
Okay, that's good.
Yes, sir.
All right. Hello, caller. What's your name and who's side to call from?
Hello, viewers. This is Umaru to call from Switzerland.
Hey, Mr. Umaru, as usual. Nice to hear from you.
Yeah. Okay. First of all, DJ Clef na a convicted criminal. Until otherwise, this one in
no, you mean LSC? LSC?
Sorry, LSC.
Okay.
Yeah. But one thing again, just like what the other caller say, when you watch common sense, if me want kill somebody for body part harvest or any other ritual reasons, why I for do a party where I organize or where somebody can organize in the place? Why? This nothing, then this not common sense we not get. You see, Mr. Silio, that time where the LAC in case take, from the time where they arrest them, to the time where they judge them, to the time where they jail them, a very short, everything was in speed. You see now the justice system, just like what you talk, we lack justice system at that country. They have very poor justice system. Now I make way some politicians and fall on the law on them, end up for going to Pademba Road, when they come on, they go to social media, some of we will be vexed. Because then they know the problems within that system. They know they said, other than they just make way case come, they influence the case. Sometimes we get the wrong people na Pademba Road, then the people we committed crime they work out freely. And DJ Clef who said and kill up anybody is a be free on. Like who sabi and anybody is a be free to way now somebody to work on a night. You gonna say from Aberdeen table down to that place, na a very deadly place. Na a very deadly place. Sometimes the man be don't come out from the club, maybe sometimes they gonna also go take something, then decide for attack him, kill him. Who don't know? So but for let would just put more than somebody in aid. At the end of the day, Jeff go end up in entire life in a prison, or maybe after 20, 30 years, then they say no, this one not be guilty, then decide for free and wait, they're not wasting time, fine. But anyway, what happened? The way DJ Clef come on as jail, some of we not go down all with it.
You mean LSC?
The government, they mix up the name. The government, if them they really want to see into LSC in case or would ever they be in that case want to see into that case, then if they don't re-appeal the case, then try to bring the case now court and watch again for no. But if they don't convict you, they don't convict you. Whether are you guilty or not you guilty, the court don't prove you guilty. If you say you get strong lawyers that they know say you're not guilty, let them bring the case again at court. But for say no more than for left that man the way they go so. Maybe something all is a conspiracy theory. If for let them go left that man where they go so, they go and clap in hand. They get people in the way before say now some man are looking complete by there, he didn't prison for 5-6 years. Then left that man they go so. Now we not glad with. Whether again a justice or not, whether he guilty or not, let them bring and come back into the Pademba Road or whosoever they let them arrest and bring and come, then they try for see in case again at court. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Omar. We'll go to the next caller. Hello, caller. What's your name? Who's you call from?
Yeah, my name is 49 State. I call from Alaska. When I thank you, Mr. Salone, Theo, when I thank you, I'm a long-time viewer and first-time caller. Yes, this LSC case, I don't know if the Eribo organ harvesting all over the world now where they happen, especially what be happen with this Indian man where they call Romeo in a Salone. He invite the little boy, go up the house and then try for organ harvesting. Then see how they happen in a Salone a lot. So I don't know if we actually follow up for them see where they happen in LK case. Is this not the first time we don't kill somebody or you don't tell where they do them here? It's just DJ Clef Namawi be famous. Now I make this tier kind of light. So what do you not think about that?
Well, it's not. I make would bring them question up and see because the question is okay. Last time say DJ LSC in jail. If this is organ harvesting, is that going to solve the problem where he's in prison? If we not get the corporates there where they're all involved in this. So then people try to say, if the court will prove, let them prove and beyond the reasonable doubt, so we'll know them people here, able to get them off the streets. Because if they not go beyond for prudence here, you can take LSC off the street, you get still people and stay in the work for them, and then they're not going to stop. So we therefore go for the roots cause, so that we take the emotion out, look for the legal side, look for the root cause, so we will make this tier, we will root them out of the society.
And very quickly,
exactly, because they try to emphasize on how in people then they send for our money and this and that, because we already know we didn't oversee here. You know, we just go to send for you Pekin or you brother in a salon, they buy motor car them, they buy certain things, then they do certain things with the money, and you know that, and keep continue for send money. I don't care if you're not possibly rich that in country here. We know they do that. And then also maybe they talk about the wrong in situation. We say, if they emphasize, say, let nobody know pass well after the swimming pool, let nobody know go outside the rock, they let the rock no wet. He emphasized on that so much that me, I suspect personally say something be they go on at that place there all the time. Where you know one, let nobody go at that particular section. You know. So me that are able to just contribute to the show. And I thank you.
Thank you very much for calling, sir. Thank you. We'll go to the next caller. Hello, caller. What's your name and where you call from?
Oh, I call from New Jersey.
All right.
Just the whole case is bigger than people think. They get small parts they more they take from them. But this case stands for the justice system in Salone. It exposes the justice system in Salone. I can only imagine for LSC we get small money and influence in case done so. I would just imagine the one they will not get. We come from poor homes, waiting then go through another country day. You know, you look at the lady, tortured, starved. You know, I mean, can you imagine that how people are not even talk about that as a bigger picture now with justice system in Salone? It's sad. You know, I look at this case and all the witnesses then. The thing so it's like na some Pekin lawyer then rape and play. You know, how you go put somebody death warrant? I mean, death row for the evidence they would hear from even the police. You put somebody for die by hanging. That's so scary. I can't imagine that. Who side the evidence day for such a case? I don't see it. Even when you listen to the party then, where the boy, the late boy will die, may God give him peace, whosoever day. You listen to the case, you can tell, say, normally, even in the US, there are statistics where they show the witnesses 90% not reliable of what they say. You can't say them for a stated fact. And now we use their evidence again for jail somebody, not for just jail them for 3 years, 10 years, 30 years. We jail them for go kill them. I mean, I can't imagine that. Then you look at the whole scenario we turn out now. The president, first of all, one people and therefore no say, pardon, now one power where president gets, where it is beyond any reproach. He no need, a president can pardon anybody at any point for anything. And when that time they reach, that's what done in one power got the president, we country then give them. But for let it come back now and say, it not even be no. That's also sound childish. And so lack of professionalism. And then now evoke them. I don't know, me not a legal expert, so I can't tell whether that's even justified or not. So Lawyer Shilon, I really want for make you talk again about that. Like whether he really get the authority for revoke that is illegal, not to the authority, but that is illegal. And LSC no matter. Me not say LSC guilty or not. Me personally, I still say guilty. In me personally, but that in my opinion not count for anything.
Oh, okay, I think the caller in time run out, so we can take one more call. Hello, caller. What do you mean? Is it still on?
Thank you very much. I will take them back. I call Ali Aminullah Ibrahim. Mr. Now, they make it very clearly that Mr. Shillon has been fantastic for VOA. But sometimes he's not. And today is one of those days. One, Mr. Shillon, it is not correct to say when somebody is convicted, you go say he's innocent until proven guilty. He's been convicted, whether he gets 60 steps for appeal or 40 steps for appeal or 1 step for appeal, he's a convict. He's not innocent. Number two, I think this is a very important thing. We all know the call the kind of public that hundreds, if not thousands of people, we keep their backgrounds, they also watch what they do, not public, because this is a public. Now, there is no fact, except you guys tell me that you have the fact of the case. You don't have it. And secondly,
we never told you that.
No reference. I don't listen to it. I don't make no reference to any law that apply to the proceedings through which they convict LAC. Number three, LAC in your video is self-incriminating. And the evidence where a witness they give is completely different from the evidence where a suspect, where they go through trial, they give. And Mr. Shillon should know that. Presumably he knows that. But what will they talk now that the way he expressed his subject matter, he already took sides with LAC, and it is wrong. That's why I tell come on. It is wrong. It is not only wrong, it's dangerous. LAC say if you not been going to the party, you not attend. People that don't come don't show say he was there. People who were there. And they even release videos and pictures of him dancing in his house. Number two, he claims that he been there outside with somebody else who be the past all night until midday. That person don't make video, he don't deny say it's a lie. He only saw him for about 30 minutes, one place. Number three, the person defend this body, that LSC motocar na him convey them because they are tracing, so the police them talk, say, this motocar na you better look at your number plate, close to the cops. He did not say he don't sell the motocar, so Uda, he not give the person name. Number four, they say they come investigate, they say you get camera here. But they couldn't get access to the house, it took them about 7 or 8 hours for them to get access. By the time they say that it's only one camera which was left. They don't remove the other 9. Number 5, the man, the sitting driver, he run away to Kabbalah, now young people themselves after they did the allegation, this is all outside there. But they don't get the police because he was so jittery and timid. He was upset. He couldn't eat all day. So they knew there was something wrong, and he was working for his own family. So all of them put together because we will not get the fact. So as you're not going to do a legal analysis of the case, you're going to do a legal analysis of what happened after LAC Pomona prison. That is the fact. That is all what lawyers do. You cannot analyze a case if you don't have the facts. And you don't have the facts, but you're taking sides with LAC because you don't already in video. You cannot do that. That is what I'm saying. It's dangerous. It's not only dangerous for we all the watch out, but people are not able to control themselves emotional. When people like the they will believe what he is saying. And it is not fair. It's not fair. You know, but when somebody calls this now, when they talk in line with what Mr. Shillon, they extend the time. You know, and also this is not fair. You can't do that. You know, this is not for our country. Let's say the truth. And even if VOS they do wrong, we have to call you out. And this is one of those. It's dangerous. Somebody burned up or they will die. Let us assume say we don't know, but because of this, let the state investigate. President, he said he announced clemency for him. He said he left her. But then he come back because he said no say this is wrong. He said he revoke her. Something women don't agree with personally, you know, as an expert in that area. But this is fact. Let's call it a spade a spade. Thank you.
All right. You want to come on call, or let me just clarify now, because I think say people in the
We'll clarify that. Mr. Tarali,
Okay.
Go ahead.
People misunderstand several things in there. When we take this topic here, we know say for be a firing topic. Most of us will not shy away from it. Because we know say it for happen this way. We not get for misunderstand several things. This might talk about that motor car inside. Now this is the first time everybody motor car inside. We get so many evidence behind the scenes. So many. Let me say, out of all the data don't come out from everybody, we get 90 to 98% of the audio now we and video them when the area where we get to put everything together. We not come out and just see to the scenario. We put that together and look at the reality now, okay? Now you talk, say somebody jiggling and anything, that's not to see the video prove somebody guilty on. You talk, say there's not much evidence gathered. But we listen to the policeman, the way they say they gather the evidence. We listen to the journalist who talk, say, we not listen to LSE, because Mr. say, but who said the LSE lie? But again, let me look at America now. How many people don't go to jail now for something where they mean 100% convict with the best lawyers and judges? DNA can exonerate them and say even anywhere close to that. High witness don't convict so many people there. So we got to be careful and say this is justice just because you feel it that way, or because the court say he's a convicted somebody, so it should be 100%. We don't see things don't change in America. The one of the best in the world, where the way in terms of all here. Somebody don't go. Some people don't spend 50, 60, 70 years in prison. Can't find out not to them commit a crime because of evidence. People then commit either they been doing because of eyewitness or circumstantial evidence. Okay, now it not means that we go to the scenario means that we support LSE or we not support Clef. No, people misunderstand this. When they look at the thing that we present, we don't get that. From the policeman them to the Peking young testimony we give to in the LSE young to the journalist to the other lady who up to the one we put everything together. So okay, now we use common sense now. Yeah. Just not just for LSE young issue, but for anybody else because it's plenty up and by road. If this is how the police gather evidence, is this right? This is what we're looking at when we look at the system, not just for LSE, but look at the system in general. Is this how it's supposed to be done? If not, if this is not the how, then how we go? What do we need to do and put in place for improver? Because not because America they do it wrong, so because one of the best countries, so we for just follow or the UK. No, we want follow the country to be the best in the world. I go be the best if we compare with the best practices. So now this we look at. Okay, now we look at the evidence of what we get in hand and see if it sum up to. That not means not to LSE do one, but now we just say how we go beyond that because this is not just about LSE. But there are so many more people in Padden by road they're going to accuse of them criminally because the police or one way or another was biased or they not preserve the evidence right. They don't prosecute the wrong people. This is what we're talking about here. So over to you, sir.
Well, the gentleman will talk emotionally and make certain assertions that were not true. Because like I encourage everybody, you can go back, maybe what you hear it, you just miscomprehend what you would say. First of all, we're not take side with anybody. You're not going to find any indication by the conversation that we took side with LSE or anyone. We are just talking about the system, the way the investigation was conducted, the flaws in the system. LSE is just the symbol. Now, but we could change the name to John Doe and ask the same question. The gentleman we get all that fiery thing there. If not John Doe, would you still say, however, we would not talk about, will you agree with me? If not to LSE, just take out of your mind, say not to LSE, that John Doe would talk about. Because sometimes people then mix up the dislike or the flamboyancy of this guy with what happened. Then when he make reference, say, well, when somebody call, we tend for agree with what he had to say. I mean, it's not a matter of agree or disagree, but I want the people to get more time. That person there, one day get more time. First of all, he identify himself as a Sierra Leone police officer for 15 years. He knew what he was talking about. He knew the investigative procedure. So he's almost like an expert for purposes of this discussion. So we need for the area more. Now, what did that man say that we disagree with? Anybody will know anything about how investigation of crimes and conviction of people for the crime are conducted? That person they need for know, for say, what did the officer talk about? They talk about the First of all, you get to establish the scene of the crime. It's still doubtful, based upon what you may know. Now they may call that again taking sides. I don't even see clearly established evidence of the scene of the crime, because it started off by somebody saying they see this body by Moritong Cemetery. There has not been clear evidence other than the reference that some room beget some funny scents, and there were flies. Okay, I think when Mr. Kago discussed that, we say, well, for be persuasive and convincing, you know, in this day and age, if that's one of the bases for concluding that the guy committed a crime, take video of the scene. You go able to take the flies, them. You go able to take the video at the very least. You know, we suggest that. Then this person talk about you get for we don't see the record. If I make clear, if you go back, you say I say we'll not get opportunity for look at the record, but we'll just question certain things. If motive was established, and as a matter of common sense, if you want to kill somebody, will you take the opportunity when there are people at your house for make sure, say, because you want for harvesting organ? Now, everybody they talk about LSC, the interesting thing, and again, people need to understand, we're not taking sides with the guy, because, in fact, a legal system is well tested, is better tested. What the possible you not like, the unpopular person is given a fair trial. This is what they don't want to understand. You see? So, because that's when you test the system very well. It's not when the possible you like is given a trial of found not guilty. No. At the possible way you, like this gentleman will call, as much distaste you have for this guy, you know, when the system give him a fair trial, then we all get to be proud of the system. Yes. So that's the kind of thing. This officer talk about bodily fluid. He talk about, in fact, we don't know if there was a weapon and used to kill him. We know, you know, it's not clearly established whether he died by stabbing, whether he died by shooting, whether he died by strangulation. You know, there are a lot of things. So for anybody where they say, but because the LSC, the justice system for be one way, then one or two LSC for be the other way, that's what's dangerous. This guy talking about is dangerous. Then he make one statement where completely untrue. You say you cannot analyze a case unless you get the evidence. Of course. How do you teach? How do you think they teach law in law school? They need to bring evidence for analyze the case. Now analysis, now the method of teaching. You know, you can analyze a case upside down, left to right. So I think he's wrong there. You know, but I still enjoy the fact that people are passionate about the situation, and people, but we also try to encourage people. You know, all this stuff about LSC.
Make I clarify something here. We are behind the scene. I say if I was a juror, I listen to LSC of the way he talked on the TV, me go convict and say he do the crime. Not you talk with me, we talk about this discussion behind. I said because he was inconsistent with his delivery. But now let we look at the science of what happened is different from the other thing. Because somebody go, if you get a good lawyer, it can go either way. Because in America, in that case, there are not a case where you easily go put somebody up, you will lock somebody up for. Because the lawyers are going to look for so many things that we need to come up with. If somebody can't confess, we may get confession at court, and somebody say, I was part of it, I see this, now this we do, it's different. If they may find a body in holes, it's different. So these are some of the things that we, you know, to when a slam dunk. If you find body in holes, they will ask how it was killed, or if we get the murder weapon, it's different. So many, if Bokuna this case, or so many perception, I understand where they come from. Mississippi gets similar. I get similar concern about a money in business and anything. I get similar concern about the perception of the guy about his behavior. But again, people say the guy na herbalist, the guy na magician, the guy na this. That's again another perception where people don't so many people are wrong before this case here. So that perception was already built. So when that thing happened, it's easy for you put up and say whether this make it happen. But the reality is that does science prove it? Do we have enough evidence to prove that beyond a reasonable doubt? This is what we're asking now. This is from what we don't hear so far, it wasn't enough. So over to you, sir.
Yeah, and if I may add to that, because again, I just want to let people really understand when anybody where they accuse you say we take sides, we not to take sides. Yeah, anybody will say we take sides, we not to take sides. We try for let we discuss the case. Now, in fact, another question: all the people who they call say the guy is a killer. What evidence do they have before this case that he has been found guilty, convicted of killing anyone or anything, that is even a violent person? Now, we don't job for raise the uncomfortable questions there. That's all I'm saying. Because you want the system for, like way to do quality control. So people, and they say in lifestyle, all of what people are saying may be true. He may be a cold-blooded killer. But where is the evidence? You cannot convict somebody based upon a lifestyle. And the lifestyle might be such that you wonder, how is he making all this money? But you can't convict somebody saying a thief man because you're not saying to go walk, but they live good. So all these things would all hear, but now, how about this, now killer, now this and that? Where the evidence of anybody who don't accuse and say he killed before? That doesn't mean I'm siding with him. I'm just being a lawyer. I'm just being a lawyer where if I was defending this guy, I would raise reasonable doubt. Then one thing I must clear to the gentleman we talk, say, and I appreciate you saying you can agree with me, but this time, and I love that because I don't want to let somebody agree with me all the time. Where you say this guy, I think you say, let me see, I kind of lost my thought. But there was something you say about LSE for say, you basically say he's guilty, regardless of all which in those say, because the system, you cannot just, this man was represented by a former prosecutor, but nobody has criticized the prosecutor, I mean, the defense attorney himself, other than I say, the defense had a duty to raise certain points and insist on certain facts. In fact, I am trying to outline the type of defense he should have had. And so I don't understand why people think, say, we should just all agree, say, he's guilty.
Before we go to the court, let's just clarify something about people in yourself for realize. Inside America, I work like I said, when I become a nurse, I work on the jail system. So I get time for talk with them about prison. So I make my own perception different from people like you. I don't see so many cases when they say I may kill this person. They can't tell the police I kill. Then go back and check the evidence, then check everything. Then let this person go, so not to kill. Come on, I'm not going to stop, but they go find the real killer. It don't happen. So that all until they put on, not to say the type of LSC is not guilty here. He didn't do the crime. He's a convicted criminal. No matter what, he's convicted. That's another issue we'll talk about the government. Why make them release the guy and all them things here? But Lord, would they just look at the case of what we present now here? No, Mr. Somebody don't confess a kill. Then go check, match. They don't let that person then go find the real killer. Later or somebody confess. So there's a lot of things in to case we try to put now. We'll try to make it a little bit objective. Lord, we think more and see how we improve the system. This is what we do. We're not going to take hit for it. We understand that. This is why we sit here every day and do this stuff. We're not scared of it, but we get for doing so that we're going to just be objective. Not for just LSC or DJ Clef, but we got more people in Sierra Leone. The law system still there. We got the language Nigerian for crime not commit. Now we see how we're able to be the black sheep now for make the system better. This is our job. How Salone will be better tomorrow than today. This is all we're trying to do. We're trying to show the labs there. Let's improve it. So over to you, sir. And also we get 6 calls and more.
Yeah, 1 second. I'm fine. The point I was trying to make earlier was this guy talk about innocence and guilt. I think maybe he misunderstand me. I say you can be found not guilty. That doesn't mean you are innocent of the crime. Yes. In other words, people who actually committed crimes can be found not guilty because of the inadequacy of the prosecution. The prosecutor now prove all the elements of the crime. So I want to let people, so I think the gentleman get the thing, the words they mixed up, say, I may say he's innocent. Why will I say he's innocent? They found him guilty. I'm saying an innocent But if you're found not guilty, doesn't mean you're innocent. And by the same token, there are a lot of innocent people who have been found guilty. Like Mr. Tawali to say, DNA subsequently after the conviction, convict them, then the DNA can prove say they not do it. So next to the next caller. Hello caller, what's your name? Who side you call from?
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, Mr. Sheila.
Yes.
Yeah, I call from Britain.
Okay,
I want
go
to
ahead.
educate you a lot on this program. I want to know more when you understand from me, analyst, is all what you don't do. Like the case, you cannot physical evidence. Because myself, I take me time for digging on Google and read about this physical evidence and how they call the other one, circumstantial evidences. Because no physical, even the people that they say driver go Kabbalah, it be somehow G3. The driver ever can say he see the man, he do the act. No, all the evidence they would get, nobody. May they tell you this? At least in the police in police interview we take. At least the lady will make the party, and at least the guy himself. None of them, no can talk to somebody can say is here or the man and Edwin. None. All the 90 or whatsoever people they would get are none. But people that be just G3 afraid the guy say the guy na abalis. From the police station where the guy would they call a wing can. According to the as the guy can see all my the fly, all my they make G3, they fear, all my they run, even the police they will. So like they don't get that passage. This I do, say na Saloya. When they say no more this person a herbalist or a medicine, people then they freedom. So we always try them to be bad people then. And when the man they talk about the man driver and gatekeeper in this, now Salone, everybody know we case for those some side, my brother. Whether you know or you don't know, where did they get that una pass it please them before they left una. They go say they go rest for San Pademba Road. So people that go for just run away, people that just go for panic. Not to because they know that do the act, but they just fear say if they can't hold me for this case, they might go put me in a jail until the police say let leave this man. Now so the country they now so they operate. That law no make a secret. You know me say when people they run away, driver go na village, the EDs are so innocent and boss do the act or in the way they do the act. But he be scared of himself. If he the Ola, would I go for good defender? Now this country the way no get connection. A disease advantage for you left buff. Myself, I don't follow Boko analyzing. Really, me, I not say the guy not guilty, just say when I talk, whether innocent or not guilty, nobody not go say. But the judge and the jury then, for go give the man life, voting, hanging by death by hanging, with that kind of evidence. At least for those say, oh, they give him 50 years, me I for understand. But the people that would pass that value, they're so wicked, no evidence, no proof. In fact, the lady talk emphatically clear say, not believe and not possible say the murder take place now that also then be there. Because it's in a one-room day and when I man in bedroom and get office, he get stores, food and they get kitchen. He say we get there. He get some side like a security post. So he say not believe and not possible say now that incident they take place. He say it might be say they don't other side, they go put the man body and that. He say that no good. He say but now that also say no, he not believe that. And the man now be missing somebody after some days. Imagine. People then they say, why many people they go to the place, the security they not agree. Just be like, you not thief man. They don't come for come maybe search you house. Maybe you get drugs, we not want let people they go for charge but other man more that is they go see drugs. That is like it makes sometimes some man can take some cover for go pull other thing. And no mean say na kill or na kill. These are all part of the criminal investigation. It might be so. Maybe they get cocaine at the house. The police one can search for more evidence whatsoever. If they go bust for cocaine, so they might not be gate for them for go withdraw them. With you understand what I mean. But really, this case there's no because all we don't accuse the man in one. But how the case go? Because me say I like the argument. I can only base argument on fact and law. Fact. They don't ever prove the case. So me say listen to the police. They not ever prove the case. Just say the man a murderer. They go down house, car crocked. It might possible the car crocked. Other people they ever use the same. They go put. But the man they just find a guilty because of his profession. Man, that me see for the whole case.
Thank you very much, caller, for calling. We appreciate your contribution. We'll take the next call. Hello, caller. What's your name? Who's that you call from?
Sir, how you doing? This now speaking from Canada.
All right, speaking. Nice to hear from you. Go ahead, sir.
Okay. What you are trying to look at are the follow and the evidence where you don't present and where you make the case. It makes a lot of sense. You not they assume say guilty or not guilty. You not they make a legal explanation. But one of the things when I look at the evidence, them when I listen carefully about the evidences, them right. Two things they were missing where the investigators them they not explain properly. And they say this man then tap him. But then they say the man in Wayai come out, then he lose couple of toes. But then this guy when he LC, himself, he's not guilty of I believe he's not guilty of the murder, but he carried the heaviest weight of the death of the man. That's not my opinion. One of the reasons why, based on the video the way he makes certain comments. And I've been speaking to one of you host them about that issue today. If they get 10 dogs, 10 pit bull. If you get 10 pit bull in your house, that's a lethal weapon right there. So we assume say this particular go on, the other lady will become Orella, he said then get some area that we get metal security, you can't go in those areas. Then we assume say that boy they be non drunk. He accidentally go inside that particular area with them dogs then they because nobody never talk about the dogs them. Then that the dogs they not go chew you to pieces. If you don't ever see when them dogs then they attack human being, then chew you to pieces. That's how they go bet you to lose 3 foot because the dogs are lower. They are attacking you, your height, you're on the ground. Because I've seen those dogs attack people. Now, but the evidence not explain none of the above. Where are these dogs? What happened with these dogs? Maybe after that attack they don't take place, and this LSC guy realized, damn, I'm in danger. Yes, the LSC was in the party, but maybe he left. He said he left, he was in the party. Let me assume legally, he was in the party, but he left. Now, maybe later on, LSC can realize through insecurity and driver, say, damn, trouble happened at the house. Maybe LSC then come back later on because it's 15 days. 15 days. And then say then see LSC in Mutuka. Whose days then see LSC in Mutuka at the place where the body been in? It don't make sense. You see, so going further, I don't think that the investigation was properly done. And let's talk about the dog. Let's focus on the dog. So maybe on that today, then guys then come out, they're scared, they're afraid, they're a human being. They be afraid. Maybe both of them then decide to take this body and now go dump us on side. You understand what I mean? So in that case, they'll assume that the dog then caused the damage. Now I make LSC they can't talk say no killer. In believe in my mind they are no killer. But it's still responsible for the death of the man if not the dog. So now I don't know how to bring to the table. Let us focus and then dogs. Let us ask questions about this dog. When the policeman let me go for investigate the house, where were these dogs? These 10 dogs. 10 pit bull is a deadly weapon.
Yes, very, very much so. Thank you very much. And thank you very much for the perspective of the dogs then. So we'll get many other calls. So there, for purposes, we're not going to analyze or respond to every call we come. So let me go to the next caller. Hello, caller. What's your name? And where you call from?
Hey, when are you me? Around the now for a very long time.
Yeah, Mike. Yeah,
okay,
Mike,
thank you for your patience. Thank you for your patience. Yeah. Would you hear you?
Yeah, I mean,
turn down your listening device. Please turn down your listening device because we hear the device back there. Thanks.
Okay, let's just turn this down. Okay, you get me loud and clear now?
Yeah,
very much so, sir.
All right, me and Mike, I just been listening on a program. Mike Berrow from Seattle, Washington. I just want to go straight to this thing. I'm not a lawyer, but I do a lot of reading, and when it comes to legal issues, I can watch a lot of crime movies and all internet day. One of the things I want to establish here straight is, in the court of law, it's not about truth. It's about evidence. I mean, that makes you can see somebody can kill, then set them free. The case of O.J. Simpson. But one of the key things I want to establish where Mr. Shylon or Yebo emphasize on, and what I disagree with him is, circumstantial evidence and direct evidence carry the same weight in the court. The case of Aaron Hernandez in recent trial, he was charged based on circumstantial evidence. We all see him over TV. Because two evidences in there. You get the direct evidence, wherein somebody see DNA evidence, wherein there is a witness, where there is a camera. Then you get circumstantial evidence, wherein the time we did it, your phone calls, and then see the run from the murder crime. You get a weapon at your hand. So, and a lot of murder cases, them, first of all, if you see the direct evidence, it's very slim. Now, mostly in a circumstantial evidence. Now, they lead to the direct evidence. With circumstantial evidence is what they gather, and they lead to direct evidence that they prove the person guilty. In the case of LSC, we are talking about 26 circumstantial evidence. Now, these people, they fail to realize 26 circumstantial evidence, 9 and pool. We don't even know all the details. And the few ones that will come on social media, and here you they talk about 26. So all that 26 and they're not going to be coincidental. And I like the last caller. I just want to make that point we make. The last caller in point we make, they make them very sensible. My conviction are here. Papa God sorry for me. I'm not going to say na in physically murder that guy to death for extracting organs. I will not say so. I don't think so Sierra Leoneans will not reach to that level they eat. But there are possibilities say in nobody dead. Apart from even the pit bulls, because according to the videos and say Ellis, then say the late DJ Clef, be look it be chocolate at the party. They say we come on at the pool. It be tipsing at the party. So Law say maybe it even for them some side in hit head, whether Law say they even fetching at the place, Law even say them dogs themselves from the man they talk about so. Now them rush at the blocking eye, them do all bad things to him, then kill him. Then the man say, I am in trouble, then try to take that body, they go dump him outside. I highly convinced. But for say he doesn't know nothing about it, he knows something about it. So, and in the court of law, then they find you guilty. Because law fail to understand back. Not so in one them find guilty. Other person then are jail. What are they all? Somebody is in jail. Ain't just lucky to come up. There is someone who is in jail also. And this is a jury of people that will come. We not say our system rotten. We not say our system flaws. But the little gets now they work with. Now they work with. We not say we need to improve on them. We don't get DNA evidences. We don't have lab. We don't have forensic analysis for dual lensing. But nature is a second lead to add some evidence. Even here. So now we not exonerate this guy because like waiting to be very sincere, more on the defense of this guy than on the left the thing open. That's why people still say that inside. Even though
Mike, just for follow up, I don't put plenty of them against her. I don't put even that way to talk about I don't put
very objective. But I just want listeners, people, this is about perception. Me not look at that way because I know that Mr. Shilon is very objective. Now it bring the legal perspective of him more. But let Mr. Shilon not focus on the flaws of the system more. Because this is what this guy is weighing on. Even when it comes out the sympathy where this guy forget the public sympathy, and they talk about things that were sensitive to people. And they talk about the prison systems, and they talk about prison reforms, and they talk about how police system thinks. So everybody saying, yeah, not true, and again the sympathy. So Una have not come the way on that. You don't get me? Let's look at the facts here. We are talking about 26 circumstantial evidence. Everything cannot be coincidental, my brothers. It cannot. So we are highly confident. There are possibilities say not to kill, physically murder the guy, and not convinced that our ability to know something about that guy's death. Where see the pin say not to me kill, and know something about him. Because
all right, before we get to the
thank you very much, Mike.
Now just clarify something we Mike say so people don't understand. We talk say if we meet at the jury, if I don't convict this guy as well. Make people understand. We don't say it's over and over. Like I say, if in defense me knows you don't know nothing. He said he gets 12 cameras, CCTV camera, why they not present on a court. So these are all things to already point out, say, We believe, we don't just tell you say the guy guilty or not, but we don't point out the flaws of the defense for tell you say there's a whole lot the guy know, now he end up in a prison. Nobody not saying that tell you the guy not supposed to go to prison. We not say that. They say that the same perception where they go on, like people see the perceive and like say, we just put an house, even the dog wait about so now till I put OD off. We miss parliament, they go back and forth and they fall. So some of you pick up the thing and they say, okay, hold on. We not say you get security when as soon as policeman, this is not a law enforcement officer in the compound, we not get your own testimony as well. So there's a lot of things where we know say a point on both directions. With a point towards the system and also point towards in defense for sure say, but putting away them is supposed to clarify, not clarify for we. So make people understand. And only time was say the guy is guilty, is innocent and should be exonerated. No, because I say if in defense, if me not say him innocent, in defense, for just prove that he got 12 CCTV camera, present and show where the guy come inside the compound and the guy left. This is easy as slam dunk like 2 days case in a court where we walk in free, walk out free. So with the try not to say with the try for point only on him, but we not say the prosecution back now Salone sometimes. I'm going to say points if camera points sitting in the back say they need to do more for proving case here when they get for do it live in the future. This is where we're going with this argument. So all right, sir.
Let me just say quickly, a lot of times people get to realize, say, what would they talk about the system now for everybody in good, now for the good of the country? Having a personal animus against this guy just because of his lifestyle, not to do anybody any good. All them innuendos, all the conjecture, and the way people in the come up with maybe na Indua, maybe not to Indua, maybe na Indua because of this or that. All of that are possibilities. But one thing is clear, the system, how it works, I just need to explain to people. He had no duty to prove his innocence. He don't get no burden of proving his innocence. He don't even get to present any evidence. He can rely on the strength of or weakness of the prosecution and make a no case submission where they can say back home. When I have, we say motion for non-suit, that the prosecution not meets the required standard of proof in such convincing and clear way as to warrant the case for go to the jury. The defense attorney can make such a motion, say, Judge, this case is not even worth going to the jury because where's the proof? Very briefly, because I don't want to let certain things go without commenting on. Direct evidence and indirect evidence is true, but very rarely, not that frequently, and let me make a distinction. Direct evidence not necessarily mean eyewitness. Eyewitness testimony is just one form of direct evidence. Direct evidence also could be DNA testing, DNA results. Like what our officer called it, talk about fluid. If the evidence shows saying a such and such a person in fluid, that's direct evidence. Direct evidence could also be fiber materials found on things belonging to somebody like your car or something like that. So the gentleman over the talk about direct evidence, I think it mix up direct evidence as if direct evidence for only be because I say there are a lot of conviction in America where people do not get direct evidence. But some of them, I think they mix up direct evidence with eyewitness testimony. You know, eyewitness testimony is as direct as you get it, but there are other forms of direct evidence. Indirect evidence is hard to convince people, but it will happen. Let me give some example because it's worth the time. An indirect evidence must be clear, must be convincing, must point towards the guilt of the defendant. Here is an example of indirect evidence that may be convincing. Me and you go on a trek. I come back without you. They ask me for you. I say, hey, you know, reach your age? They say, no, we're not saying, I'm not to go. I say, well, we don't left me there. But when they begin to test me closely, question me, it turned out that nothing holds up. That could be circumstantial evidence, but it could be a convincing evidence to create the inference that I must have had something to do with you, and then eventually if they go find you dead body, Now the place where me and you supposedly be there, who said the last see me and you, and the last time we didn't see this person will die, and me and you, and me and the deceased didn't see. These are all circumstantial evidence that point towards me guilt. You know, another circumstantial evidence could be if you map somebody run by, you get a dagger or a big butcher knife in your hand, blood they drip from it, they run with speed, then people can come chasing that person there and then say, somebody has just been stabbed from the same direction, look at this person, they come out, and then they try to apprehend them. That could be circumstantial evidence where we point out that you had a dripping knife with blood, you run from the direction where the crime was being committed, and that is highly likely that you must have been the one who caused the stabbing, even though no one saw you and stabbed the person. So there are some convincing circumstantial evidence, but it doesn't come that easy. But when an entire case does not even link the defendant in presence, and like some of the flaws of the case, where the crime, if in fact a crime was committed, where it happened, still has not been established with all this talk. We don't know whether LSC else this man died. We don't know how he died, you know. And so there are a lot of missing parts. It has nothing to do with siding with the guy. You know, I've been in the business long enough. You could come and preach to me all you want. That not going to make I feel sorry for you. But I am trained to determine, according to law, guilt or innocence. Okay? And I keep emphasizing the fact that someone is presumed to be innocent or is found guilty doesn't mean he committed the crime. By the same token, somebody can be found innocent and he actually committed the crime. Because now how the evidence goes, and a lot of times for one over there in America, how many times in another area, like Mr. Charlie say, people in where they go, people in there just have time. Some they don't even condemn them, like this LSC situation. Then after 30, 40 years in prison, it turned out that somebody made false allegation against the person. You even got eyewitnesses, they can lie. You know, how many times did it happen all the time? What would you see people who just have long time in prison? It turned out that they were innocent of the crime. So that's all we are pointing out. So we own system, we no need for, we rather let an LSC go free than an innocent person, because the system is such, because he poor, because he never hire a good lawyer, than a person like that be found guilty and be hanged. On one credit to President Bill, at least it don't abolish capital punishment, so we know so nobody will be innocently killed. If you like to stand 40 years, at least you get your life together. That's something we have to give the president kudos about. But people need to understand, separate what you think about this man, would they talk about the system, would they talk for say good for we all? Because LSC is not the first and the last person who ever charged with murder. So if we don't improve the system, so what do? Just let it go like that, don't point it out. So that no moment one let people understand. Hello caller, what's your name and which side you call from?
Okay. Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Hello?
Turn you, yeah. Yes, sir.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can, or we can.
Okay, how now they do boys, how everything?
We do very well. Thanks for calling.
Okay, you're welcome. I just get one or two things where I just want input into this program. Some of you did follow that case before. You understand?
Okay.
But I want we smart enough, let this bobo talk no can big fool people them now. Because what you see when they grant this bobo clemency, we know you're length in there. As soon as this bobo begin to talk, now begin hear all length here. So now it's simple. You're not a lawyer, right? You know the law. Some of those evidence, they need to pull them out because sometimes they can appeal and stuff like that. Nobody no ever go to the court who said they find this bobo guilty by jury or by the judge or whatever, and go get the fact from them. Outcomes, then convict this bobo. Now, based on no more to the outside. But I bet you now, it's more than 25 evidences. Now, just feel we are in a social media with a debate on right now. More than 15 witnesses when they find this Bobo guilty. So, but we just debate on this outside. We don't even go there, the court yet. Let the court, they can't not even get time for kind of social media for kind of explain them here because they see as the born and rubbish they talk. And now Bobo can never, instead they set people up. Yeah, they go to the cloud or to the ore, not to them. Now the Bobo, as this Bobo talk, everything just mix up. Sometimes, law smart enough, for law we go to the court, and law we know, because now we right. Maybe you go there, you go get all the facts. It's more than 25 evidences. So you want to tell me, say, no day, when are two, more than 15 witnesses there. What will they fall on our case? No fall for this Bobo in talk. Now, me own no more get for say. Well, thank you so much.
Thanks for calling. We'll take a couple of more calls because we'll still get endless number of callers, but we can't keep going. But let's take at least a couple more. Hello, caller. You're welcome. Hello, caller. What's your name and where you call from?
A couple more calls because we still get endless number of callers, but we can't keep going.
Yeah, caller, go ahead.
Hello?
You're welcome. Yes, hello,
caller. What's your name? Where you call from? Well, please turn your listening device and down, okay? Please. Hello?
Okay.
Hello, caller.
Good evening.
Please, yeah, turn your listening device, your TV or whatever you get back there. Turn it down.
All right.
Thank you.
So now the get me?
Yes, clearly.
Yeah, now good evening. My name is Mohammed. I call from Maryland.
All right.
Yeah, I don't follow this LSE issue. Several times from a lot of people. Me not to a lawyer or me not to a fan of LSE. Hello?
Yeah, we listen.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I said me not to a fan of LSE. But I don't follow this case. This killing, if them go deep into them, a lot of people then go be involved. And this DJ Clef in kill one, they're not going to be unconnected with the past government. Because from all what in the talk, okay, let me talk about them dog there, where the last two callers they talk about. The dog they're not be loose now the compound. If they be loose now the compound, over 70 people have been there at that compound. Then they for kill everybody at that compound. But nobody no can talk say the dog them be loose. When they always go there, nobody no talks say dog they see dog na the eye. So for saying a dog go don't kill this man, no. And besides, this man DJ Clef, he go with his girlfriend. He go with his girlfriend at the place. So they all been then at the stream, at the pool and the stream, then stay, then come out. So if DJ Clef don't die, if not they then kill him. For say this in girlfriend no able to take notice. I've been here for ask somebody when you say DJ Clef. I said DJ Clef. I said, me no sabia. I said, now small man, the person say tall, he say huge. I say huge person like that, and then we just can't kill so no more. You don't make any noise, you don't retaliate, you don't make any move for let it resist. I say, me not believe that. Then besides, this in Galfreya, where the two go na that birthday day. Say they end up for killing self. When they try, they go on. Then kill on a beach.
Yes.
What you make them kill on? Now for that, and not go reveal certain things them. Because if you reveal anything, a lot of people when are big people then will be involved. So for saying LSE, me don't sabi LSE one day pass where this thing happen. I may see I don't say this na LSE. One day I'm not happy. But all what thing they explain, how they go see the dead body now, monitor, bearing ground, then they come no say na LSE a compound and killer. Then no scientific what they call no day, we go so say then kill this na LSE a compound and killer. Now body the in fact the person will see the dead body day. Instead forget question. But then they all go free. Then the girlfriend, where they two go, me no arrange themselves for all lengthen whether they being no interrogator, let them know what happened. Or no read on it until you know they themselves in a beach, then put on some and mouth. You see, a lot of things that don't go on way are not correct. And you see, a lot of me fine.
Yeah, that's very true. That's a very important notation for make for say LSE while in trial to go on. This JD Cliff in girlfriend was found dead, naked, at the beach in the early morning hours, Lumley Beach. So that's another mystery to the whole thing. Hello, caller. We're taking the last call now. Sorry if we're not able to reach other people then, because like I said, the calls, we get quite a bit of calls, but we're not going to be able to go, we don't reach with maximum time. So I'm taking the last caller now. Hello, caller. What's your name? Who's you call from?
Yeah, this is Stephen again. I'm from Canada. I listened to the last caller. What did the last caller say? He said the dog them for dinner at the compound. I just want to let you understand, say, if you get party in a house, you get place where you secure your dog them. Common sense will tell you, say, you not go bring people in a house, they left your dog the all at the compound, so it don't make sense. So then dog then they in a secure area where pushing up for able for go there. That's not number one. So I just want to enlighten the last caller we say that. And second of all, what you know they do, I agree with what you know they do. You know they defend nobody. You know they try to establish the kind of evidence them where we don't hear about. Say the evidence there, they don't make sense for convict this man. But I go back to my last explanation. If assuming that then dog then they kill him, he still carry the heaviest burden of the man in death. You understand? So what we get for looking, we get for follow this case here back and forth and understand the evidence that will be presented properly in a court. And also I go ask the lawyer if it's possible for let the president revoke the pardon. And then second of all, I know say the lawyer commends the president for put away the death penalty. But now we'll look at it again in another point. So what about this incident will be done the happen, so they know about that. So the president decided to say, you know what, let's take away this death penalty here because I get planned for can't take this man out of prison. So why is the man in a prison? You know they on their death again because death penalty, you know they again. So we get for look into all those areas then. But then we talk about the system. Now the system will get for address. You know, right? Not all about the LSE case. Now the system. Because that system, the police system, the justice system, they don't put people in a prison illegally. Because another evidence been the way I don't know one Salone picking, where now other woman can go to police, you know, do nothing. The judge take that picking, they go put her in jail for 30 days without looking at no evidence. And then waiting they accuse the picking of, they find out say the picking is another day. Then the judge not even apologize to the picking. If he left the picking, so he say okay, now release him. So the justice system and the police system now we for they talk about, you know, get nothing for do with LSE because it affects we all. It can happen to anybody if the system not right. They can accuse you now say for the under for some heinous crime then we are not even guilty of self. You see? So we too for let the caller then they understand and let the people now put the emotion away, now put sentiments away, now look at the law of the land, we go protect we all. So I go left and they let you continue with what they do, they explain the case properly. You know they side nobody, anybody will get sense go understand, say, they side nobody, they talk about evidence. That's all everybody they say. So I go rest my case so far.
Thank you very much, sir. We appreciate that, and we appreciate all the callers them. And we want people them to know again for say there are presumably 7 million people in Sierra Leone. No law is passed. Sometimes then they do them with the intention for one man. But remember, when you pass law, no law is passed for affect one man alone. When you pass that law, it will affect 7 million people. So we did talk about the larger number of people we will find themselves in that same situation there. We not go be an LSC, we popular, but that person they also deserve justice, it deserve fairness. Now for that person they would talk. Not to, like I say, LSC not just the symbol, because you get this case with the media, so we use them for just expose the system and try for tell the powers to be, or the one that will get power, for say they need for improve the system because a lot of people are suffering. You know, when they pass that law, they not say the LSC law, we're in charge of which, you know. So the same system can be used or will be used to prosecute others. Now that number would try for talk. But I appreciate the fact that, or we appreciate the fact that a good many of UNA get very much involved. We're not going to see things eye to eye. Everybody call and express your view. I want to thank you very much for listening and coming and for being so passionate. I turn it over to Mr. Tarawale.
Well, I want to tell the callers and listeners and thank you. This is what we need. We need that uncomfortable conversation wherein we will bring things out. Because change not easy. And for what we do, I'm going to be uncomfortable to bring it. We're going to move ourselves off our comfort zones. At the end of the day, we still stand by the court's decision, no matter what, whether we accept the verdict or not. We stand by the court's decision. He's still a convicted criminal, but at the same time, we still know we law system get plenty lapses. It is the duty of every religion to make sure we come in and talk about the lapses and make them better for each and every one of y'all. We don't need to wait for something to happen to we love one or somebody who we care about them. We worry about the system. If this when the system work, we are in. DJ Clef and family will get the closure and they know the real killer will kill them begin with enough thing. At the same time, while LSC, if not into the crime, make it do the time. But if not to do them again, make the be exonerated. Make we not do things according to we feelings or continue for do the wrong thing just because we don't it only is in people don't do it for a long time means of acceptance. We have to talk to the police to realize if it's somebody whether they do the crime or not, treat them with dignity and respect. Not to for just a bit suspect them or try for intimidate people and just because you want confession for just say we don't catch somebody for this crime, but catch the right person. I think that the problem that what we get at Salone, then just can't catch somebody for the crime, no matter the right person or not. We need to go beyond that. This is the 21st century. We begin catch the right people in. Because if we continue to put the wrong people in a prison, the right people out, the crime will still continue the way they continue today. But for the most part, the right people that commit the crime inside prison, I believe we safety and we continue for all better. But again, I thank all participants in this program. This is what we need. We need a comfortable conversation because at the end of the day, not to God to come up or white man for change salon, I'm here to get for change out. So again, I thank you all. God bless you all, and we will be back next week. It was a great day, and it was a pleasure.